Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, August 10th regular business meeting of Verona Council. Let's first start by standing and saying the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Parkman.
Yeah, I'm present.
Mr. Matlin.
Yeah, he's not going to be here tonight, but he is going to call in as far as I understand.
I'm here. I'm here via teleconference.
Red Zach Showalter.
Present.
Mr. Luelba.
Here.
Mr. Benza.
Present.
Mr. Suchovich.
Here.
Mr. Warren.
He's going to be coming in late. He is on. He's on the
Present.
Zoom.
If I
Can't
could be
hear him
unmuted.
Mr. Pitts. Mr. Alexander.
Here.
Ms. Lisa Super Jansen.
Here.
All present, man.
All right, great, thank you. So I'm going to make a slight last minute change. Christine, are you there? Can you unmute yourself by, yeah.
Yep, I am
Hello?
here. Good evening, everybody.
No. Why can't we hear her?
Can you hear me now?
It may not be playing up top.
Should
Hello?
we change it from output to input maybe? Christine, can you hear me on this?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's on my personal tablet. What we can't hear you is in the room. No, she's on the phone. Oh, no, then it will echo. Hold on.
Okay.
Try something.
I can mute myself and maybe that will help with the echo.
Try now.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Turn that down. Yes. Okay, try again, Christine.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, that's really loud. Okay, so I'm gonna call an audible because the woman whose voice you're hearing, her name is Christine Durunk, and we have decided pretty much that we would like to appoint her as our borough secretary. And so I would like to have a motion to appoint Christine Durunk as Verona Borough Secretary with the compensation and benefits package that we have all agreed to.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So first by Trish Redzak Showalter, second by Ray Suchovich. And at this point, we have a few minutes for comments and questions. And I'd just like to start out by saying how excited and enthusiastic I feel about Christine working for the borough. Her interview was really, really fantastic. She knocked it out of the park. And it was clear, I think, to all of us how much she appreciates Verona and wants to help with Verona growing and thriving as we move on into the future. So I'd like to, for anyone else on council might want to say anything before we make this vote. It's a big vote. Been 9 months in the making. We had several people that we considered. We interviewed 5 at first and narrowed it down to 2 and took Christine in the end. Anybody else want to make any comments or?
I would just like to echo everything you said and add that, as many of you know, council is often not unanimous on things, but on choosing Christine to lead our borough into the future, it was a completely unanimous decision, and we all couldn't be more thrilled to leave the public in her hands.
So if there's no other comments or questions, all those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Joey has his hand up.
Oh. Oh,
Aye.
yeah. Oh, and Dave, is Dave there?
I'm here and I am aye.
Okay,
I would request
Dave's
a
an
roll
aye.
call vote.
okay,
Because we have councilmen on the Zoom and here.
okay. So let's go through roll call. Go ahead, Janet.
Aye.
It's Ray,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
Trish,
Aye.
I'm aye. And Councilman Warren
Aye.
and Councilman Dave Matlin.
Aye.
Okay, we have 7 ayes, none opposed. The motion passes. Yay.
Congratulations, congratulations.
So Christine, I meant to text you, but I wonder if you wanted to say a couple words before you hang up.
Sure. I just wanted to thank everybody for, the opportunity to serve the borough of Verona. I'm really, really excited about this. And the closer I get to my start date, which will be the last Monday of August, just the more and more excited I get. And thank you for the kind words. Several of you, said in the beginning of this that it's appreciated and it's nice to know that, I'm going into an environment with such support. So thank you for that. And I'm just really excited. And I wish you could all see where I am. For those of you that don't know, I'm in Rocky Mountain National Park and I'm up on a hill and the mountains are there and it's just gorgeous. And I wish you all could be here and see it. It's also why my connection is probably pretty bad.
Take a couple pictures for us.
I will.
Welcome to the borough, Christine.
Thank you so much.
Yes, welcome, Christine, and have a safe and wonderful vacation, and we look forward to having you here with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There were so many other things I wanted to say, but Christine has an incredible resume and a lot of experience, and I think it's going to be fantastic for the borough. So thanks again.
President, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Councilman Warren. I wanted to say congratulations as well to our newest hire for the borough. I'm very much excited to have her join. I also want to commend all of the council on working towards this. I think a lot of people know I'm very much by process, and I very much respect all the work done ahead of my being appointed. And I very much look forward to working again towards things like this. So congratulations, Christina.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joey. Anybody else? Dave, you want to say anything? Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Nancy. I would just like to say I'm also very enthusiastic. I would echo the words that you mentioned earlier, and I'm very much looking forward to Christine starting, and I think she will be a very great fit for the borough.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, wonderful. Well, Christine, go enjoy your vacation or stay on the line if you so desire. And we're going to continue on with the meeting.
Okay, I'm going to go set up camp so that we're not doing that in the dark. But thank you all again, and I will be in touch when I'm back in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so talk to you when you get back.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.
So in that vein, Lisa Jensen has been helping us out since May 19th. And this is her last meeting. And I've enjoyed working with you and I will miss you. And we just wanted to give you a little going away flowers and card and chocolate.
Thanks so much. Thank you, every one of you.
There's a new car outside.
Oh, I don't know. Later, maybe.
Thank you for your time and service. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
realized tonight, this is my last meeting out of close to 700 council.
Wow.
And I really, really enjoyed working here. Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
being willing to step up to the plate, putting up with me and all my
Speaking
little.
of, I don't know too many council presidents that would step in and make sure that things ran on a day-to-day basis. It was interesting and always lively working there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to take care of those two very important pieces of business, so to speak. And now we are going to move on to registered comments from the public. And first up is Jeff Pepper.
Thank you, Nancy.
That's not on. You need to turn it on.
But then,
Yeah, there's,
somewhere there.
How's that? Okay, thanks, Nancy, and everybody, thank you for your time. I'll try not to be the cause of this being a 3-hour meeting. But I do want to take you through some of the great progress we've been making on the welcome sign project. And afterwards, after I leave, so there'll be some resolutions that we'd like you to consider. So Verona's changing for the better. There's wonderful things happening. I'm sure you all know. New businesses are coming into town. New people are moving in. And over the last 6 months, a few of us have been working on upgrading and sort of modernizing the welcome signs as you come into Verona. So the project has been led by the Verona Rotary. They're sort of the lead on this. I've been helping out. Chris has been helping out. We're making terrific progress. So I want to just run through a half a dozen items so you know kind of where we're at. The first thing is the sign design is finished. And what I'm going to do is, as we take one and pass it around. So you kind of refresh your memory of what the sign looks like as it's been designed. It's larger, brighter, and more noticeable than the old signs. A bit more contemporary, but nothing crazy. We had input from over 60 people on this. We spoke with half a dozen vendors, surveys, and this is the end result. Secondly, we selected a sign vendor. We talked to a number of different vendors, and Precision Sign and Awning in Carnegie was selected. I know them personally. They're a great company. They've done some work for me in the past. They were not the cheapest vendor, but the quality that they were offering was quite a bit better than the other vendors. Everybody else wanted to do sort of a foam board thing with paint on the foam board. Theirs is all aluminum, so it's built to last. So we're very happy with that. We also scaled back on the project. We all got a bit of sticker shock at first, but what we decided to do was to trim back the scope of the project. We're going to put off the solar lighting for a while. We're not even sure how much that costs, but it's probably what we want to spend right now. And we're going to be asking the borough to do the installation, which will save about $3,500. So I'll get to that later. So the cost that we're looking at right now is about $6,000 for each sign and replacement posts. Could be a bit more, could be a bit less, depending on some of the final tweaks we make. But that's for the delivered. And I'll get to the pledges in a minute, but we're actually looking pretty good on funding. As far as how the funding will be managed, I had a conversation today with somebody from the Rotary, I get this name right. It's the District Rotary Foundation. I forget the number of districts. I apologize, but they act as a funding vehicle for projects like this. So basically, we funnel the money to them. We meet with like a sign committee. They offer tax deductions to donors. They have a tax exempt number, so we don't have sales tax. They pay for the sign. They pay for all the work. Then they donate the sign at the end. So none of the money goes through the borough. It's all handled by this foundation that's run by the Rotary. They do this all the time, and I spoke with the guy. He's actually pretty impressive. So, money. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been going around and talking to folks, potential donors, And I'm happy to say that pledges right now total over $11,000. That's almost enough for the first two signs. I don't want to say what the numbers are. This is being recorded, and some of these numbers may be subject to adjustment upward or downward. But we have Rotary, we have the Chamber of Commerce, Verona Garden Club, the Lower Valley Athletics Foundation, the number of individuals. In fact, today I got a call from Molly Santucci. A lot of you know the Santucci's. She heard about the project and committed to donation. So we're well on our way to get the funding we need. If council approves the sign project tonight, first thing tomorrow morning, I'll be creating a GoFundMe page, and we'll start doing some more systematic fundraising. Hopefully we'll get enough for all three sides. Couple of open issues, location and donor recognition. Let me just briefly touch on those. So as some of you probably know, the two signs on Alligator River Boulevard are sort of grandfathered in. They actually, technically, they violate the setback provisions of the PennDOT has for state roads, but because they were there before these were put in place a long time ago, they've been grandfathered in. So speaking with Matt, his opinion, if I can say this correctly, is renovation and upgrades to an existing sign will not affect the grandfather. He feels, and I think it makes sense, that if we simply take out the old signs, put in new signs in the same location, that would also not violate the grandfathering provision. And so we feel that we can do this work and not have to push the signs back. It's a very unlikely prospect that we'd have to do that. If we did, obviously we'd have to move the signs, but I think that's okay. So that's sort of where we are with location. The other open issue has to do with donor recognition. We've been discussing this quite a bit among ourselves. I think the way we're going is, if you look at the picture there, you see this little footer at the bottom of the sign. It's roughly the width of the sign, maybe 6 inches or 8 inches or so high. The idea is that nonprofit community service organizations like Rotary, Kiwanis, Elks, Moose, Chamber, that sort of thing, would have their logos on that footer if they donate, and if they donate above a certain threshold of dollars. So this would not be advertising sporting goods or anything like that. Individuals would not have their names. Businesses would not have their names on the sign. It would only be community organizations. One of the things we still have to figure out is how to provide some recognition to those people who donate. That's still an open question. And we're still. So that's the quick overview, just to give you a preview of the three things that we'd like council to consider tonight. The first one and the big one is simply to approve that the Rotary Club could go ahead and proceed with fundraising, purchase and donation of signs substantially in accordance with the picture. It might be some minor tweaks one way or the other, but we just like to go ahead and council. Secondly, we'd like to ask Borough to contribute the labor to do the removal and replacement of signs. Again, that will save about $3,000 or $4,000. Really appreciate it. The third thing is we'd like to ask you to consider changing the tagline. And I don't know if this is a major issue, but I guess at one point the tagline was Verona, the spot that's more than the dot, which I think is really cute. A lot of people liked it. At some point it was changed to Verona, proud of our heritage. And I guess given the new people, the new activities, the businesses moving into Verona, I guess we feel that that old tagline is actually better and more contemporary than new. So as a third resolution, we'd like to ask you to allow us to use that tagline.
The spot tagline?
The spot tagline instead of the heritage tagline. So happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I have a question for council. The installation that you bought, what, $1,100 a sign?
Roughly.
would it be more economical and not to knock the street department, but the sign company, they do this for a living. You're working with aluminum, and I'm sure it's a, stronger aluminum, but cost wise, would we be better off getting this company to do everything? By the time our street guys do it, labor, buying, materials, which would be minimal. We don't know, I was just talking to Matt on this, we really don't know how they were put in, because I don't remember when they, I do remember when they were put in, but I presume they're cemented in. But I guess what I'm saying is, would it be more feasible for us to spend the extra money and get it done, from people that do this every day? And it would be up quicker too, you know what I mean?
I think that's actually a good question, because I was also considering if we have the collection or salt, so not knowing the full timing or the scope of the project. Is it weeks or days that it would take once started?
I think if you guys give the go ahead tonight, 2 months, I would say, to look at the signs physically.
September, October, do we have a cost analysis of what it would be for the Department of Public Works versus outsourcing it? I mean, was it part of the initial discovery process?
No, it wasn't. So we got the quote from Precision through the install. I think it was 1,300 actually. But no, I haven't asked how much it would cost, or even whether we would at all.
$1,300 cost per sign.
Per sign.
Per sign.
And the other thing too is it could be a warranty issue too. If there's a problem with the sign, we put it up and, we can't guarantee it. That's something to think about,
Well, honestly, the funding is going better than I expected. So, I'd be fine with contracting the whole thing.
Right.
Sure.
Jeff.
And, the guys are, pretty busy enough, and like, Mr. Warren says, we're gonna be getting into leaf season, and they're gonna be busy with the leaves, come, fall, and from the sound of it, that's when this project's gonna, start taking place. It's something that the board needs to, think about.
If council could kick in some money to cover that.
To cover what piece of it?
The installation.
Well, that was one of my questions too before tonight. So I had some materials provided this past week. I wanted to be up to speed on. My hesitation was with advertising, but I understand from the phone call, and I was listening in that that's being a burden to so many nonprofits. It is
Community organization.
correct. So that was my concern. I think everyone heard from last meeting. The other question raised by Mayor, I think, is pertinent to the warranty, the longevity, the quality. I'm not questioning the quality of work our team does, but if it's part of a service, that we would not exhaust our current municipal responsibility with them and have someone else do to be covered for longer. I would like to explore that. Now, talking about cost, we want to do a lot of things. I don't think $1,300 per sign is a lot. I think for 3 signs, almost $4,000 for cost. I mean, what's the longevity of one of these signs? How many years do they last?
10 years. I think the warranty is 10 years, and this aluminum should last decades.
Sure. So what I would be getting to is that $4,000 is a really good investment for the quality of the signage that we're getting, there for a long. Does council have any issue with me exploring with AJ and team what their comfort level would be? Not vote tonight. Just so you know, I'm a proponent of this. I think this is a wonderful idea. I think it's a good addition, but I think cost savings, saving of time, we have a number of things switching over from summer to fall. I think we're considering.
I think that's a good idea.
I plan to meet with AJ about the capital campaign also next week or two. So this is something I can tackle and ask him as well to see about his level of comfort. Or I don't want to overstep boundaries and say no for him, but I believe he should. Sure.
We could certainly proceed with the fabricating of the sign, and we could leave the installation. You have a decision.
Yeah, if your momentum is going the way it is, you're going to have a GoFundMe. You have a number of people who are going to hear more about it after tonight and want to support it. And hopefully at the same time, we're exploring other possible ways to have it put up, maybe more comfort.
Also, of course, we don't have to do all 3 signs. Right. So if we have enough for 1 or 2 signs, we do 1 or 2 signs. We just continue to fundraise.
Well, mainly the 2 signs at first, because we don't even know where the 3rd sign is going to go up there on Wildwood. That's all private property too, all along there.
And can I make a suggestion that the signs remove be provided to the Historical Society, or is that already been mentioned?
We would do something.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
we're not.
I said, are the playgrounds being renovated, or they just toss them scrap?
We get, yeah, it's a good idea, putting them up at the
150 a
fields.
year, yeah.
By the way, one of the
Put 'em on the
signs, this is
fence.
here.
Yeah, you weren't here at the last meeting. Actually, the chamber is getting that one painted up. And, like Mr. Warren said, that's a good idea. We can put them on the fences up at the park, both parks.
We're painting a fence that's being replaced.
No, one
Or,
of
I'm
the
sorry, a
signs.
sign.
Yeah.
So one of the signs.
The chambers is paying for it. The one on the boulevard over here by the pylon, the paint was flaking off. They've been up probably about 12 years, if not longer.
But that's one of the two that are gonna be switched.
Right.
Why are they,
Why are they painting it if we're gonna replace it?
We could, rather than throw them away, I mean, we'll freshen them up, or we can put them on the field. One on the gate, on the fence up the field, if the board, would like to do that, and one down at the park.
I think at the time of the meeting also, we weren't sure if we were doing 1, 2, or 3 signs. We figured while we were still working these details out due to the low cost of the painting, we might as well proceed with touching them up.
Right. And the chamber is paying for that.
Yes.
Chamber fund.
Jeff, is it cheaper if we get all 3 at one time?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I believe it'd be the same price.
Okay. I had one other question. Since you're doing the GoFundMe, can that be incorporated in also with the installation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if it turns out that we decide to have Precision do the installation, then that will be listed in the GoFundMe goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we might have enough to cover it right there then.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, so right now, again, assuming these pledges are accurate, we're at about 11,000 or so.
Right.
The first 2 signs on Alligator Boulevard installed, be about 58,000. Give or take, I did my math right. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that we can get enough funds this year to do the 2 on Alligator Boulevard. And then, as Mary Dave says, we have to figure out some of the details on the one on Wildwood Road that may slump over.
Thank you.
so Jeff, I have a couple of comments. I think getting new signs is fantastic, and I appreciate you for taking this on. Does Verona have a Rotary Club, or is this Oakmont?
It's the Oakmont Verona.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was very quiet for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Karen Brooks, some of you may know Karen. She owns the regular sports farmer. She took over the Rotary a year or 2 ago. She built it reinvigorating.
Okay.
In fact, they donated quite a bit of money to help get pickleball courses.
Oh, yeah.
So Karen has been a real driver in getting Rotary be established and help.
Yeah. So in the course of the last several weeks, I've heard from different people throughout the community, and they're not necessarily here tonight to be able to express their concerns, but I just wanted to share with you what I've heard. Some people are concerned about the logo situation, and having the donations being given by nonprofit community organizations who are working really hard to raise funds for their group, only to give some of those funds to the sign for a logo. And when I first heard about, me personally, when I first heard about this, I'm not saying that that's, my thing. I'm just telling you what I've been hearing from people in the community. But I was under the impression initially that we could get these 2 or maybe 3 signs for like $10,000, $12,000 total initially, and that this would not cost the borough anything. And it's changing, it seems like, as more and more information comes in. And I'm gonna suggest that maybe we don't necessarily approve this stuff tonight. Let people see the meeting online, have their input, and let us all percolate with this information that you're giving us tonight, because I'm not sure everybody in town is big on having logos and having this be how the fundraising is going. Yeah.
So a couple of thoughts on that. First of all, this would not cost the borough any money at all. Right? The plan is all fundraising for individuals and donors. Right? So when Joe suggested that maybe we would pay for the installation, I first thought, gee, maybe the borough could give us some money for that. It's totally up to you. I know money's tight this year for the borough. If there's no money available for the borough, that's fine. We'll do with that. So, zero cost to the borough. That's as far as the objections that you mentioned to the other people, obviously they're not here, so it's hard to tell. But we're asking for donations from community service organizations. They're not giving money to buy a logo. They're giving money to improve the community, to create a welcome as a borough. So I think that's what the organizations exist to do, as I understand. Some logos.
It depends on what the organization is and what they're doing. I didn't get to write down all the different, chamber, that's one thing. The Rotary Club obviously is a sponsoring organization. You said the Garden Club, is that Verona or Oakmont?
Verona.
Who else did you say?
So right now we have pledges from Rotary Chamber, Verona Chamber, I'm sorry, the Verona Garden Club, and the Lower Valley Athletics Association. We also have verbal indications from the Moose and the Eagles. We don't have numbers.
And just to clarify, the Garden Club and LVAF are still finalizing the pledge.
Okay, yeah. So, anyway, I think that some other, everyone on council here can speak for yourself, but I think there were some concerns raised at the last meeting about the idea of the logos also. I think possibly some changes were made with the design. I'm looking at this picture. The sign itself wouldn't have any logos on it, but they'd be on this little strip underneath the sign.
Yeah, that way, if something happens, there's a change in the lineup of logos, we don't have to replace the entire sign.
That was one of my questions, actually, because if we would have approved this 3 years ago, we'd be in a predicament. Rivertown Inn was a sponsor, Pizza Hut was a sponsor, some local, and for thinking kind of hindsight, like what this could have been, I'm trying to think 4 to 15 years, like what are we going to have to replace? I think if you take a look at it with organizations who are benefiting the community, they're a part of the community. I think that curbs my concern that we're placing too many logos there. I don't want to have logos. I don't want to in 16 months have AJ and the team go get the screwdriver out and go take these down and center them and have you center 6 or have you center 4 and start drilling holes through a post for the next 12 years. I think if you're an established organization, if you prove yourself in the community where you can, the Rotary or the Garden Club, I think those things don't give me hesitation personally, so to speak on my end. But the businesses did, and it's not that I'm not supportive of businesses, but the placement of what it is. What's the least amount you'd have to pay to be on the sign?
I think
yeah, so $1,500 from a community organization that gets donations for member dues from residents and businesses. I would personally find I had the same hesitation I'm speaking about now, the last meeting, but I think these address it. I do agree with you though, and I don't know if it's on the page now. People hear this tonight and they hear more than they heard last month, and there's a chance for us to talk to AJ and then also hear feedback from the public. I think it would be good to vote next time. And that way, maybe through the workshop, we can answer questions. And that way, even in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can ask me directly.
So you had 3 items. One was for the fundraising. One was for contributing the labor, which Joey's going to talk to AJ. Okay, I'll do that. And then to change the tagline, which again, I would like to hear from all of council, their feelings about changing the tagline, and from the public, what they feel about changing the tagline. I don't think they're decisions that I feel comfortable making tonight.
Yeah, just to be clear, the first thing was asking for this general approval to move forward on the whole project. Raise the money, buy the sign.
Right. The thing about the raising the money is you're saying, if you give us this much, we'll give you a logo. And you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Nancy, I also have reservations about, you know, making this a commercial thing. I'm one of the people that objected to the sign on order there, because I thought it was too commercial. And there is a risk there. Most communities, when you come into them, they have a welcome sign. They give some recognition to the service organizations. Dozens of services. So I think that as long as we limit it to, as Joe says, established service organizations, it doesn't have a commercial feel to it. It has adult citizen.
How many signs would go on here, Jen?
Or how many logos you
How
mean?
many
Sarah?
logos, those little logos?
Depends on how many contributors.
Well, no, I mean, how many will this hold? Maybe I said it wrong.
Well, we haven't decided how big they're going to be. So I'm guessing, you know, 6 or 8 would be probably
A fair amount.
they'd be round. Yeah. And the signs are about that wide, so you could, yeah, you could fit 6 or 8.
Did I read somewhere that if you went over a like 2,500, that you get a bigger logo?
Yeah, I think what we were thinking is that at Trish, correct me if I'm wrong, 3,000, is that right? There would be sort of slightly larger logos centered. So that would be Rotary, Chamber, and Verona Borough. So yeah, we imagine like a few larger ones and some slightly smaller ones on the sides.
That's,
And
I think, the trickiest part, because you already have a sponsorship packet out there for joining, and I'm trying to see all sides of this, but you're already running with it, and it's not quite approved at this point on what would be permitted. I think everyone's in agreement that a new sign would be a good idea. It's just that it comes down to getting the buy-in for people to financially support it. So there's individuals and families, and it's a tough spot. As fast as you want to move and do this, it's time to 150, and as we need to make sure we consider things so that we don't, you know, do the will of everyone around in town that wants to have, I'm sure, a compromise to having the best sign to have. It's tough because, you know, say you have this meeting tonight, people are, this is wonderful, we want to do that. You get over $3,000 donation. That's great, but then we might be looking at more real estate showing who sponsored it versus the actual sign itself. So I'm sure you can respect us trying to do due diligence and understand the scope.
Yeah.
I wasn't here prior on council, so I don't know. Maybe it was passed that there was a sponsorship package that was approved and gave you some, you know, some input on which way to run, or maybe it's just moving forward and see where we find ourselves. But those are the questions I would want to know up front if I were to start from scratch. Again, this is only my second meeting, so I'm not holding up to speed.
So I think that the logos would serve 2 purposes, just to kind of sort this out. One is to encourage donations, obviously, and the other is to recognize the service organizations. These are people that are volunteering tremendous good. So,
Well, as far as the logos go, I think that's something we could bring up at possibly the next meeting, you know, as we work on that. I mean, we don't need to make a decision. You know, that's my opinion, you know, tonight on these logos. Let's get it started with the fundraisers. And on a final note, I would just like to say maybe get with Rhoda at the History Center there. And because I'm sure there's probably, I bet you there's probably about 30 different purples along with gold. I know in the automotive industry, General Motors has 32 whites for their cars. Don't ask me what white is white, you know, wall, you know, but they literally have 32 of them. And maybe we can match something up, you know, close to something in the purple and gold. something close.
Okay, I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Okay.
So, just, I think, putting this off to the next meeting or whatever is okay, but we can't go start any systematic fundraising. So, yeah. Council, so that'll help. Great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Madam President,
Yes.
before we move on, I just want the minutes to reflect that Councilman Warren is now physically present in the council chambers.
If it wasn't heard, I did vote to affirm.
Yes, we did hear you. Yeah.
I was fighting with my phone.
Okay, great. I'm going to take 1 second before we continue and consult with my IT person here. Do you think if we tried muting this, that it might stop that sound? Yeah. Okay. Next up. Next on registered comments is Kimberly Roller to talk about Botany and Booze 2022.
Hello, everyone. Kimberly Roller, 853 First Street, and Vice President of the Verona Borough. So I wanted to just kind of talk to you guys a little bit about Botany and Booze, give you a brief overview of kind of what it did to the borough and what it was able to do and what we hope to continue to do in subsequent years. So first of all, Botany and Booze had an attendance on Saturday of over 500 people. It was a complete sellout. It sold over 250 of the brewery sample tickets, as well as had an additional 250 people kind of walking through the borough. With that, we had 19 vendors, plus we had 6 breweries. Sunday, our attendance was about 250. We sold about 150 tickets that day for the brewery sample, and then 16 vendors, as well as, again, the 6 breweries that were there. One thing I thought was really interesting to point out, we had attendees from areas such as Cranberry, City of Pittsburgh, and as far as Wheeling, West Virginia. So word really kind of started to travel about that event. And if you go to the next slide. So some of the ways we were able to achieve that was through marketing. So one, we had several articles in the Trib. We did social outreach on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Nextdoor, Marketplace. Additionally, we did yard signage, a digital billboard from Still City Billboards who donated that to Botany Food, as well as we had ads in the newsletter. This type of marketing that allowed us to have an additional reach for higher attendance, as well as a positive ROI for the event. Just to kind of give you a quick little snapshot of kind of the social media posts and things that we were able to do. We had over, I think it's 68 shares on posts, we had 92 comments. On one of our posts, we actually had over 8,000 impressions, which is pretty big for a local event. With that, this type of reach and visibility will continue to support Verona as a borough and as a place to come for businesses. And it will kind of continue to solidify our part as a place to not overlook, to continue to look at as we move forward. And then you can go to the next one. So one of the super exciting things, as a first-year festival, we were actually nominated in the city paper for Best of Pittsburgh Street Festival. We are actually against the Free Rivers Arts Festival. So that kind of shows you the reach that we were able to achieve with Botany. And so the reason I'm up here today is to request approval from council to start planning 2022. If you go to the next one, you can see we're looking at the date would be May 21st and 22nd. A similar format to this past year. Right now I'm looking for event approval that you guys thought was a successful event, that would be something we'd like to move forward with, as well as request, and I hope is enough advance, street closure. We did the street closure last year, and I understand there's been some some conversations around street closures, whether it's important enough. But with attendance over 500, I think for the safety of everybody in attendance as well as the police officers, it's easier to kind of contain those people with the street closure.
Okay. Let's see.
You're asking for permission right now?
Yes.
So I understand this to be under the process of having a permit, so I would like to say just a couple of things. As far as the event goes, me personally, I think it's wonderful that we get residents to be able to walk here, also out there, drive here and enjoy this. I think that some business owners would appreciate having patrons stay longer, coming earlier, or new patrons coming to town. It's a matter of process, though, we're in the middle of making sure that we make sure that our Department of Public Works can help with the waste removal afterwards, make sure the police department is well equipped and advised on where we're gonna have a street closure, make sure businesses in Chamber are all up to speed and it's not surprising anyone. So how close are we to this?
I think that Mr. Matlin is taking in the feedback from the last meeting and making a few more revisions on the permit. So he'll bring it back to council on the 31st.
This is something probably that's done for you to use in time. This is May of next year.
Yeah.
Maybe you can be an instance of using it for the first time and providing feedback on things that maybe city paper, which congratulations on your accolade. Maybe the city paper asks you to do a number of things to make sure you can, accommodate those things to be mentioned or whatever. So I don't know what it is, but if you can take a look at the form for the first time, maybe submit it and provide feedback.
Sure. And the form will be available the 31st.
No, it will continue to whittle it down to, everything that we think is important. And we had a lot of discussion about it at the last meeting. And Dave will bring version 3 to the meeting on the 31st. But we have plenty of time, as far as I know, because I think that we were asking for a couple of months lead time.
Yeah, plus we have a
Something
new
like
hire
that.
now, so there's a lot of things we're able to move a little quicker. now.
Yes,
We're
yes.
whole, we have full council, we have a new hire, we have a couple of things that the car cruise in was something, we weren't gonna put form in now for something that's happening. This is an example of 2022, where we put it in advance, put it on the calendar, we file parties, and go through a process. This is the present, I don't think we can approve tonight, but I like the update. I appreciate Verona having people come from and here to support it.
Oh, yeah.
I think one thing that I would request is if we can at least say that we would like to hold that date. And then we can continue to work through all the processes, because some of the vendors are already asking because they're starting to book for spring. As you guys know, that was happening with food trucks and craft vendors and basically everything. I've had several people trying to book for another event and they're, 2-3 months out and they're saying, oh, I'm already booked.
That's a good point.
So,
Yeah.
I know that it's kind of far out, if I could at least get approval to say that date would be okay, I can at least start asking vendors to reserve that date. And if in the next 2 months, we go through the process and we decide it's not good or, whatnot, I can go back and tell them I can cancel the date. And also I know that some of the businesses in Verona have been asking for as much notice. Since that's early spring, I don't want to hinder any other businesses that are along. Give it as much.
Right. I personally don't see any problems with the date. I think it's a great date. It's after Mother's Day. It's before Memorial Day.
It's the same weekend as well as when the last event was. So
Right.
third weekend in
May, right. Does anybody have any objections to us holding that
No.
date? So I think we can safely say that that
Hold it,
date
and then
is
I'll
good.
finish all the process.
Yeah, and then we'll,
Formalities of it.
yeah, don't sweat the small stuff.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you for the update. Oh, I did want to ask you,
Yeah.
I forget what the hours were.
The hours were 12 to 4 this past year.
Yeah, you
I think
think,
we can kind of still talk about it, and we had some requests from the vendors who were there. They wish it was a little bit longer.
longer being like later
It was
into,
12 to 6.
okay,
But the garden club needs to kind of discuss that and try and figure out if we have enough
Mhm,
bodies to do that, if
mhm.
that type of extended closure would for businesses, how we would be able to handle that. So I want to be very cognizant about supporting, both our volunteers who might not want to be in the sun for 6 hours, as well as making sure that the businesses are well aware and everybody's kind of.
Yeah, it did seem like, oh, we're jamming now. It's, 3:45. We
And
have
it
to
was
close.
over,
Yeah,
Can I
so,
make one suggestion?
Sure.
You're in multi-states now, you people come from all over. Can you consider putting the word Verona in the logo itself? That logo will carry more than just the writing
It says Verona Borough Body.
on the logo in the bottom.
Yeah.
Why didn't you-
So when you do it, it's body and booze, and then above it says. Verona Borough.
Got it. I was just looking for it. Okay,
Yeah, I was just my graphic. for
Got
it.
thank you.
thanks for the graphics. Thanks for your work. It's okay. You can leave it on. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So at this point, we're going to move on to comments from, or any additional urgent agenda items that anybody has. All right, good. Comments from the public. Council will hear comments on agenda related items at this time. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I do want to make a distinction here. And this is sort of in reference also to something that Mr. Alexander will be talking about later. This part of the comments, the things that people want to talk about do need to be on the agenda. So there's agendas available on that little podium back there. So comments at the beginning are more meant for people who want to comment about something that a motion is going to be made for before we vote. Does anybody have any comments? Do we have any raised hands? Okay, Tim Long, go ahead.
Hello, yes, I'm Tim Long, 323 Penn Street. I am just to remind everybody, Battle in the Borough is coming up on the 21st, since this will be the last council meeting for them. And
Tim?
yes,
Tim,
yeah,
is this an agenda related
is
item?
Parks and Rec an agenda item?
Well, not just Parks and Rec in general. Parks
I
and
mean,
Rec.
I would think that a borough event that's happening in 2 weeks, and this being the last borough meeting before that happened, that this should be an agenda item.
Tim, this is Craig. There's 2 periods of public comment. There's general public comment at number X or 10 on the agenda. And there's public comment relating to specific items that are on the agenda is under item 6. So agenda items are those listed under
E1, Parks and Rec. What is it? Sorry, Parks and Recreation Board update. So since this is,
yeah.
Well, it's okay for you guys to talk about the wrestling, but wrestling isn't specifically on the agenda.
I am on here just to remind everybody that we will need 8 horses and the 4 blue garbage cans. So I want to ask.
For what?
4 blue garbage cans.
Oh, blue.
Yeah. That are in the borough garage, and 8 horses to be put up the field before wrestling happens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, thank you. Any other raised hands? Okay, we're gonna move on then to the mayor.
Just a couple quick things. This Saturday, street closure on East Railroad Avenue for the car cruise. This will be the Chamber of Commerce 25th car cruise, which coincides with the 150th celebration. I'm expecting a lot of cars this year because of last year. We didn't have it. Let everybody know there will be street closing, probably around 1, 2, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, until about 9. And the other thing I have is BIU. I know we have a new gentleman, and I talked to him the other day, but high grass across the street from me. There was a I guess a tip sheet or whatever you want to call it, already placed about 2-3 weeks ago. And when I talked to him, first thing he asked, are the people dead? And I says, no, the property was up for sale from Berkwood and Halfway, I believe, about 6 months ago. And he said something about, well, we got to find out who owns the property. And I said, well, it was already turned in. So somebody has to own the property. And then he went into, well, I just got all this Friday, put on me. And I politely said, that's not my problem. It's not the borough's problem. It's BIU's. They work for us. Kind of not clear on where we stand with this. Residents should not have to, and I'm not saying just because it's across the street from me. There's other properties that need attended to. Is this company going to be riding around, or are they going to be totally dependent on people calling in?
Well, I can tell you from recent past experience that the guy who was here for however many weeks he was here, Mr. Keeley, he drove around, and when he saw something, he put a door hanger on the property. And if he didn't get a response, or he'd drive around the next week, and if it wasn't fixed, he would go to the next step, which was a notice of violation. And if that didn't render any response, then he goes to the next step, which is a citation.
Well, he certainly didn't drive around on the weekend of July 4th, when all the garbage was in the alley on Diamond Way. It was sitting there.
Well, I don't know that he drove on every single street in the entire borough.
Mark used to. I mean, that's why he had a long list of items to look into and do his citations, what have you. Who's supposed to do the those ordinances, like for garbage and what have you. I need to get this straightened out also.
I don't know. I mean, I have the same question and concern that you do. I would think that any ordinance could be, someone could be warned or whatever by either the code enforcement people or the police.
No, I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody should, including the street department, should be turning stuff in.
Right.
Whether it's high grass or garbage on the street or what have you, everyone should be turning it in, including, everyone on this board and, the general public. But, with this new company, it just seems like, they keep switching employees. Then everything gets back. I mean, is there another company we could look into? That's my opinion. I mean, they work for us, we don't work for them.
Sure.
I was just gonna ask, is it a grievance or a recommendation?
I'll make a recommendation. I mean, we need to move forward, like I said, and I'm not saying this because the grass is, 3 foot across the street from me, because there's other places in, town that we've had problems with. It's just that, these guys keep quitting, then the next guy comes in and he's got other work, and, I'll get to it now, a month has gone by, now another person comes in, well, I know, he starts asking me questions, is the person dead? You got the information, somebody was just selling the property. They couldn't get what they wanted for it, so somebody owns the property. It's gotta be on the tax records. But, then, well, I got a lot of other work, they just handed this to me Friday, that's not my problem. It's the company's problem. You work for us, we don't work for you.
So Mayor, may I suggest that you attend a meeting with us and we can try to resolve this with their management? I understand and agree with your concerns. We've had a lot of issues, especially with the various transitions of their employees, but we did do a lot of research on the various firms and they were the highest recommended. They are currently also in Oakmont. So I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt and work with their management to try and get them more on board with our expectations.
So what do you say? You would like to meet again with them?
Yes, correct.
When?
if you could join our ordinance committee, I can ask the management to come, or if that doesn't work for you, then we can identify another time.
What time are your ordinance meetings? Monday.
Yeah, Monday, the 23rd, this one is right, the 23rd,
This,
August 23rd at 4. I mean, we could talk about other things, and if you need to come later, then we could,
Yeah.
have the other people be there a little bit later.
Certainly.
Might be a good starting point to do an audit of tip sheets as well, because I know tip sheets are a form, that's just a form, but there's, again, you're gonna be tired of me saying this, there's a process, so submission of a form is one thing, I've done them personally verbally. I've seen the same thing for 2 years, it's not been corrected, I also understand there's been turnover. I also understand that there are some instances where we're only reactionary, we're not proactive, so I
Yeah.
completely understand that stance. I also know, like I said, a half hour ago, we are finally full. We have somebody that's gonna be working here 5 days a week that can do things like this, but this process, I said before, we are a full-time community. This town deserves full-time response to these things. So if maybe look into the budget, we can hire somebody full-time versus a consultant that's part-time where we don't know who's priority, who's hired, who's turning over in 2 weeks. Maybe that's something we can address as a part of the budget. Budget's coming up in about a month or so where we should be hitting hard on these things that we're gonna pay for with the resources we do have. So I hear this as an ongoing problem. I could walk outside my house within 100 feet and name 10 things I mentioned before that aren't done.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can. We
I
can all- So there are businesses,
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
And at first, Mayor, for your part of the report, I didn't know if it was a grievance or a recommendation, but I've heard per month's grievances. So if it's more of a recommendation, I think that's a good spot, start with the meeting. I am third, I believe, taking up the back, but I think I kind of step back. So I don't know if I'll join as well, but I'd also like to do it.
Well,
I actually have a schedule for the 16th,
you do?
third Monday.
the third Monday.
All this time, I thought it was the 23rd,
What date is that again?
Monday, May 16th,
coming up.
or August 16th.
This coming Monday.
It used to be the 4th, and now it's the 3rd Monday.
Yeah, I think what's confusing is there's 5 Mondays this month.
Right.
Because everywhere else I saw was the 23rd. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. The next up is the police chief report.
Good evening, everyone. This is for the month of July. We had 150 complaints, 36 crimes reported, 30 cleared, persons arrested was 24, 9 price homes. No one confused with the arrested part. Arrested, it's also people that are issued citations to them down, not physically arrested. That's one way we can report it, is that people get charged. Well, I mean that subject, and kind of change a little bit here, but that's for next month.
Chief, could you do us a favor and come closer to the mic? I know, I'm sorry. That's good. Oh, it is, I think it's on, right?
Just tap the.
Tap it.
mic. Tap the head of the mic where you.
Yeah, it's, no, you need to turn it on. Yeah. I know.
All right.
Thank you.
Because I can't hear it. I was gonna mention something that happened on this first, next week. So crimes code summarization for 9, vehicle code summarization for 34, borough code summarization for 15, we had 138 parking tickets issued. The revenue sources, magistrates fines collected was $494.78. Borough's fines and fees collected $925. Police reports purchased $9. Municipal fines, $256.66. Total fines and fees collected $1,766.44. And then parking permits, $205. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
What's the first of the three columns? It says 2021, then 2021 year to date, and 2020 year to date. What's the first column represent? Is that
Just for the month.
That's just for the month, just the year.
For the month.
Yeah.
I want to commend you. I know there were last month 2 things near my home that you addressed. I know there was a motorcycle skid out about 30 yards that you were pretty quick to respond to and help the gentleman. I appreciate that. I know a lot of neighbors came out and saw that happen. Also, we had another incident on athletic that you're addressing. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but there was something that should not be happening in the streets in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. I want to go out, actually, August first, that's why.
Sure.
It's next month.
I think the thank you is due now from me, because I know I went out to my front porch with my neighbor having called 911 and saw in the middle of something that I appreciate you taking seriously and approaching, and I know you're invested. So thank you.
Yeah, well, he's already been issued some citations and we will.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Chief, is there any update on that ongoing investigation about the overdoses on heroin earlier this year?
Overdoses on heroin.
Mhm. Yeah, it was earlier this year.
No.
I don't know the nature of the overdose, but I thought it was on heroin earlier this year.
I don't remember any overdoses on here,
Okay,
but I can check my record.
okay.
I know you had asked that before.
Uh-huh.
Are you seeing a number of overdoses or drug-related calls up or down in the last 2-3 years?
I'd have to say the overdoses have been
Increased largely?
I wouldn't say large.
You shake your head yes as well.
It's going away, so seeing that, not too much of an increase. Well, today, as much as in one Iceland area, goes to Springdale, Verona, and Oakmont, Harvard.
Are we seeing the same spots or are they different places?
No, they could be anywhere. They could be absolutely anywhere.
You're not coordinating where it's over the course of months or weeks, that's the same properties or the same street. It's literally everywhere that we're having overdoses or having.
I'm not saying it's perfect. Yeah, I can't say one specific area. We're always having, like, we had 3 right here on the road. We haven't had any since there. We've had them up top of the hill, we've had them across the tracks.
3 the last month?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying we've had overdoses. It could be 1, 3. You mean on the East Railroad?
I'm saying in general, it's a great concern of mine if we're going through just the numbers of things for the, which I appreciate the information, but my concern, I think, just being here is to understand what's going on in the community, to make sure that we address it and know it. And 1 overdose is too many. One knock on the door to see someone's dead or not is too many. I don't know what that looks like. So when I'm asking about a year-over-year trend of the last few years, I'm just wondering, overdoses are going up, or if they're declining, or saying you're saying it's going up, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, as far as our community, I can't say there's this specific area that they're happening all the time. That's what I said. It could be up a hill 1 month, next month it could be somewhere else. And there's months or 2 months that we wouldn't have it. So it's not something I can pinpoint and say a very specific time, a very specific amount as far as this neighborhood or something like that. Overdoses can happen in apartments, it happen in the street, it happen behind somebody's house. There's not a specific area where this happens. Drug users use drugs just about anywhere. Okay, so it doesn't even have to be somebody that from the road. It can be people that are coming through town out in the parking lot somewhere in their car, overdose. Has happened.
Yeah, it's sad. I also don't want it to be tolerated, I think, in the community is my main concern. So I appreciate you answering the calls. It's not comfortable question to ask, how many overdoses are we having? And, I don't know, maybe it's the county that coordinates and triangulates, like, where are they occurring? Are they looking at them on a map where these 3 streets over the last 4 years that are issues where they can, so I don't know who it is, but I'm curious because it seems like it's more and more common. And I don't, I want people to know about other things in Verona, not those things, but to do that, we have to address it. And to address it, I guess we have to ask during this portion, where do we stand?
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's more and more common throughout the United States. It's not just Allegheny County. It's.
I realize that.
It's just something that's occurred. It's very sad for us as police officers, having handled situations, especially when you're not able to provide. It's comes personally. But most of the time, we are able to provide. So we say overdose, it's not always that. In the past, an overdose can be that they used too much drugs and violence. I'm not sure what that term is. Accidental took too much prescribed medication. You see a lot of the geriatric patients. Alzheimer's dementia. Medication. We say overdose, it's not always to be. As far as tracking, all we keep doing, through the reality, how many does that system takes? There's a large tracking. By the nature of dispatch, obviously, by our. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I also want to voice a concern. It's, it's an ongoing battle. I think, if it quietly happens and no one mentions it, if we don't address it, if we don't understand it, it's a sad thing, but it's just, might be in the stats here, I just wanted to ask. Thank you.
So, thanks, Chief. Take a motion to approve the police chief report. All right, so Mrs. Loelbo, second. Second, Mr. Suchovich. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passed. Next is the fire chief report.
We had 7 fire calls for the month of July.
Okay. Anything stand out?
So, man,
Okay. I'll take a motion to accept the fire chief report. Motion by Mr. Warren, second.
Second.
Second by Tricia Showalter. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And next is Mr. Lavelle with the EMS report. Welcome back.
Good evening. Sorry if my voice is still a little raspy, but that's been about 7 months.
Sounds great.
First off, thank you, council, for reaching out to me over the wishes. Please let you know that I'm not cancer free as of last Thursday.
Congratulations.
Guys, the first time in over a year. Almost. I missed June's meeting due to health issues. June 21. We had a total of 38 calls, 12 ALS, basic life support, 8 basic life support, 3 new patients, 4 basic refusals, 7 cancellations, 1 deceased on the level, 2 lift assist, and 1 fire escape. For the month of July, we've had 32 calls in Verona. We have 15 basic life support calls, 6 basic life support, 8 basic refusals, 1 false call, and 2 cancellations. And just to elaborate on this one, overdoses. We covered 30 square miles, covered everything from Spring Township, Borough, Barber, Chester, Oak Park, Indian Township. We're not seeing that one specific area where the overdoses occur. It's not all roads, not all spring roads. We don't get called back to his invitation periodically or Jake, I will close the chief.
Glad to hear you work.
No, thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Guys.
I'll take a motion to accept the EMS report.
I'll make a motion.
All right, who's making the motion?
Janet.
Okay. Janet Loelbo, second.
second.
Second, Mr. Suchovich. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, glad to see you're back up and running.
Yes, it's wonderful. All right, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you. I have a few items listed under my report. The first is Act 65. Act 65 of 2001. I spoke about it briefly at last month's meeting. It's an act that makes changes to the Sunshine Law, specifically to the agenda and the manner in which things can be voted on. At the council president's request, I prepared a memorandum that puts specific detail with regard to what Act 65 requires. And I've emailed that off to everybody earlier, and then hard copies have been supplied at the meeting. And what Act 65 requires is that if it's not on the published agenda, and that's what we have here, and that's what we have in front of for the folks at home, or that actually come and at home, then you're not allowed to deliberate and take official action on it unless it falls within one of three exceptions. One is emergency business. The council is permitted to take official action on business that relates to a real or potential emergency involving a clear and present danger to life or property, regardless of whether public notice was given for the meeting. That's the first exception. Second exception is matters brought to the attention of the agency within 24 hours of the public meeting. And this is allowed to be voted on only if the matter is considered de minimis, which is minor or negligible, and it must be something that doesn't involve the expenditure of funds or require entering into the contract or agreement by the agency. The third exception is matters brought to the attention of the agency by a resident or taxpayer at the public meeting. So a resident comes up and brings something to council's attention. Council could take official action on that, but it's limited to referring it to staff or committee or putting it on the agenda for the next meeting. So if it's not something that gets on the agenda within 24 hours of the meeting, because the agenda has to be posted in this room, out front, and on the website, then Act 65 says it's not supposed to be voted on, it's not supposed to be deliberated. There's going to be some growing pains with this. We did a trial run today with the agenda, hoping that it's compliant with Act 65. And I can tell you, we did a really good job. But I think we have a lot of room to go too. I think we have to list out our motions on the agenda as well. So that's going to be difficult. So there's going to be growing pains, and there's going to be some things that people are going to be disappointed in because we're not going to be able to vote on them at this meeting. We're going to have to wait to the next meeting moving forward. That's the first item on my report.
Can I ask you a question?
You're the president.
Okay. I am not clear by this summary, and certainly not by reading the actual act, because that was really.
Because it's completely unclear.
Thank you. But I
Okay.
was not clear about, like, for instance, if someone just has something informational that they want to talk about, that doesn't require any deliberation, it's just informational. Can you say that, or do you have to have it on the agenda?
I would put anything that you know about on the agenda, but if it's just informational and there's no deliberation, that can always be talked about. Like if I think like Tim brought up stuff about the Bodnian foods, that was all informational, but then we started talking about it. That becomes deliberation. So
Okay.
if it's informational only, you can always talk about that.
All right, so for instance,
It's under the agenda or comments at the end.
Right.
right, so, but I'm saying, like here, I put this on under registered comments, so that was enough for us to be able to deliberate.
No.
No.
Well, that should be enough, but I think that you should be as detailed as possible. You segue from informational to
Yeah.
deliberation.
Yeah,
Yes, you should be able to talk about that, but I don't know that you can make a motion from that. So if you want to make a
Right.
motion, I think the motions need to be set
Right.
forth with particularity.
which we really didn't, but we can get more with this. I
There's-
guess I'm
There's
asking.
going to be some growing pains.
I'm asking this right now with everybody here so that everybody is understanding what's going to be required with this agenda in order for you to bring up what you want to bring up. And I know that between, I asked for the agenda items to be sent to me, or Lisa does, or whoever will, by noon on Thursday. I'm willing to extend that till 5 o'clock on Thursday, but the person preparing the agenda also needs time. And that's why that request is made. And so obviously things come up between that cutoff time
Right.
and Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock.
And it might not be a bad idea to request your agenda items by noon on Tuesday.
Well,
And
But
then,
then
and then any last minute items by noon on Thursday or close of business. That way she's not cramming to get the agenda done.
you mean noon on Tuesday, the week before the meeting?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I see.
I have a good example. I forgot all about talking about Kurt's Field and the light for safety at the bathrooms when they have night games and what have you. I was sitting here and I just thought about it. I forgot to bring that, put that on the agenda. And I just wrote Matt a note because he's going to bring up, about the grants at Kurt's Field, to include that into his, his report.
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is there's things that you're sitting here or it's, 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning saying, you know what, I forgot about this, so could we still bring it up without voting on it? Is that what you're saying? We can't,
We can't deliberate is what you're
It
saying.
says you can't deliberate, but it prohibits taking official action. So, I mean, again, there's gonna be a lot of growing pains.
yeah, I can see that.
And it's like when you go into the back room in an executive session and you start talking about something that's not really an executive session topic. It happens all the time. Should it happen all the time? No. And this borough council is trying to do its very best to follow these new mandates under Act 65. So if it's something that comes up at the last moment that doesn't require official action, I don't know that somebody's going to jump on you saying that's not on the agenda, you can't do it. We're going to have to see how this goes in order. The governor gave you 60 days to get used to it. And it's going to go into effect in August 29. How many of those 60 days have you used to get used to it? It doesn't happen. You do it at the last moment.
I thought it was
You'll be
Sep-
doing this in the moment for us, correct? Like you'll be helping us stay on track.
Absolutely, I will guide you. I will absolutely guide you.
September 1st, I thought was when it was enacted for.
Enacted on June 30th. It's goes into effect 60 days later.
Oh,
But it affects everybody's September meeting, unless you have a meeting on August 30th.
yeah.
It affects every local agency's meeting in September.
We do. We have a meeting August 31st.
Well, then it's in effect for you.
So if someone on council doesn't put, if they want to make a motion, it has to be on the agenda. If they don't put that motion on the agenda, we can't make a motion and vote on it.
That's correct.
So I just want everyone to know this and be very clear. I mean, we're not going to all get it right, like Craig says, but
And I don't think anybody's gonna go and run into town and file a sunshine law violation the next day because you did something wrong on August 31st.
okay. All right. And the other thing that I wanted to say is this has really probably nothing to do with Act 65, but I'm asking everyone to please email your agenda items in, not phone calls and not, messages. Sometimes they get caught the next day. Sometimes they get caught. If a message comes in on a Thursday afternoon and Lisa and I aren't in the office until Tuesday, then it's too late. So we need emails coming through.
The intent of this, it's not really stated, and I haven't seen it here at all, but there are times when people deliberately don't put things on the agenda.
Absolutely, especially in smaller communities
Right.
like this.
Where they want a surprise somebody would.
They'll
That's what
advertise,
this is
they'll
doing.
advertise their budget meetings as a voting meeting, just so
Yeah.
they can throw something out there at the last moment.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen.
Right.
This borough doesn't do that.
You don't, I've never.
So, anyway, yeah, we'll have our growing pains and
We'll get through it.
We'll
and
deal with
all be
it.
Better for it.
but so if you have a question, call Craig. All right, go ahead, sorry.
The next item on my list is the community garden property, and I just wanted to give everybody an update on that. I advised last month that we filed the declaration of taking. I spoke with Ms. Monroe earlier, and she's going to accept service of that so that it will be in the borough's ownership very, very soon, within a matter of days. With that being said, on the community garden property, something that we would not be able to do next month, but because this is a walkthrough, we're still allowed to, we can. My understanding is that you need to open up a water account for that property so that you can water the flowers and so on and such. And my understanding is that that water account is to be in the name of the borough. So if that's correct, and Trish, maybe you can jump in and help me out on this, then I would request that you give authority to open up that water account so that we can move forward with getting that going before the next month's meeting, because I think this is going to be in the borough's hands before then.
So I'm confused. We're opening a water account so that the borough is paying for the water, or?
What my understanding is, you guys need to help me out, but my understanding is that there's supposed to be a water account opened up for that community garden.
So we need to decide if it will be in the borough's name and thus we would pay or not. Most community gardens do have some support from the borough water company, but we never officially agreed to that, and we certainly don't have to, but we will have to decide in order to open the account, whether it be Verona Borough or the community garden itself.
Hmm.
Is there already a water line there?
Yes.
Oh,
So this is kind of tough to figure out, I guess. I don't know.
Is this something that can wait until the 31st?
Can it? Can it?
I think so.
I mean, I don't know.
Should it be brought up now? Should we be moving forward now?
Borough Pittsburgh would like to, just because it will take some time. And we're planning for our fall planting and groundbreaking the last weekend in September 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Mhm. So I guess my question though is like, how much does it cost to have the water company people come and actually make that happen, connect us up? And, you know, before we make a motion, make a vote, we need to know what we're spending, because this is like a new expense.
I'm not aware of any cost to the borough to turn on the account. It would only be the cost of the water, which Grow Pittsburgh estimates annually to be approximately $700.
Yeah, I'm not saying turn it on. I'm saying there has to be something dug in the ground, find a line and hook up a
The
spigot and all
plumbing
that.
work would be covered by our grant from Grow Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, didn't know that.
That's covered.
All right.
So it's just a matter of the
Talk
ongoing.
about what, Trish, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Through Grow Pittsburgh.
Grow Pittsburgh,
Grow
the
Pittsburgh.
grant.
Oh, okay.
The grant that they're working,
mask, I
the
can't-
people we're working with, yeah. So the actual making it happen, we are not paying for. So $700 a year, which we're only watering from like what, April to October. We're not watering all year long. And if it rains a lot, then we don't have to water and all that good
And it will
stuff.
also be offset by the generous donation of several rain barrels from the garden club.
Oh,
Those rain barrels are cool.
yeah, very nice. Well, hold on, guys. So do people have any other questions or issues, or do we want to make a motion? Someone want to make a motion to take on this water account for the community garden?
I will make the motion to take on the water account for the community garden.
I'll second.
Okay, first by Trish, second by Janet. Any other questions or concerns?
Just confirm it's access through utility for that space. That's it. And then from there, we'll speak to the usage at that time, correct?
Correct.
Another question.
Okay. Any others? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passed.
The final item that I listed was 527 North Avenue. We did have a Zoom meeting with the ownership of 527 North, the mayor, myself, President Carpenter, President Showalter. We're all, and Sylvia Provenza, we're all on that call with a number of the officials from the group that owned it. The mayor was able to explain a lot of the borough concerns with the property, especially with regard to parking issues and some of the acting out issues that have gone up there. The folks in the ownership group, I wouldn't be calling them the ownership group, I have to remember their name, but they were very responsive to our concerns. They told us how they're implementing new procedures, implementing new plans, have already been working on the parking, and then address some of the concerns that they had. So it was a very productive meeting, Zoom meeting. The mayor seemed to think that his concerns were addressed, and we're just going to continue to monitor for a period of time. The folks from 527 North said if there's any issues, just give us a call, and we will be on it right away. So we're going to continue to do that, and hopefully things will settle down up there and work out appropriately. And that's all I have on my report. I did want to talk about the fee schedule. I forgot to put it on my report, and I see it's on Trish's, so I might chime in when we get down to there. But that's all I have to report, Madam President.
Thank you. So I'm assuming with this Act 65, that includes you and Matt as well.
It has to do with the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, it's on the agenda, it can't be voted on.
Okay, so I'm just curious, since we're gonna go to Mr. Pitch here in a second, does his report qualify as an agenda item?
Well, it says see report, but if you append it to the agenda, I would suggest that it does.
Okay. All right, so it has to be, I mean, before Marcia was putting it in with the agenda, but I guess I could make it a separate attachment or something with it, correct?
Correct.
All right, Matt, go ahead.
Thank you. The First Street reconstruction, I met with the contractor last week. I've worked with Mr. Alexander. We provided them a letter stating that the work has to be done on the First Street by Verona for August 26th. That's the first day of school back in session. If it's not done, then we're going to threaten liquidated damages. And we also told them that they're not allowed to work during the school hours. We don't want to be distracting the kids up there.
Matt, can I add one thing to that? School actually starts on the 23rd.
Yeah, I talked to the principal up there.
Okay, thank you.
So we're moving forward with that. Every time I try to get a schedule from them, it's just excuse after excuse. So we've had enough. So we put them on notice for that. The DCD Greenways Trails for the Crib Pavilion, as the mayor mentioned, and a safety item was brought up for lighting at the rear of the building. I reviewed that with the contractor. We are going to be installing a light in the rear of the building to light up the sidewalk, and especially with the dark green doors, we don't want anyone catching a door to the face at nighttime. So we'll make sure that that's going to be getting installed. The equipment, they'll still be using the excavator to dig the sidewalk because it's getting replaced all the way out to 2nd Street. But he's going to be removing all his other equipment there this week. He has concrete scheduled for Monday to pour the sidewalk. And other than that, just some minor items of caulking and painting of the columns remain. He was going to check with Penn Hills Lock and Key about rekeying the doors. That may not have been completed yet, but we do have keys for all the doors. Every door has its own key right now. We hope to get that straightened out here shortly. And then I did talk with the rec board. We have the plaque from the original building where I did talk to the contractor this morning about that. He's going to reinstall it for the wrestling event. The CDBG year 46, we did get the notice to proceed from the county. I'm just waiting to hear back from the contractor on that, and also schedule around the street reconstruction. The PA small water sewer for the CCTV, we'll be picking that up after the new year. We decided to hold off on that for the next year. Same with the Center Avenue storm sewer extension for budget items. It was decided to hold till next year. The Wildwood CDBG 47, we're getting ready to bid those projects. I don't have the exact bid schedule for the COG, but I believe it's going to be hitting the paper end of August with bids opening in September for that project. The last meeting, it was approved for the tree trimming to have Fortnite Tree Services come out and assess some of the trees, give us recommendations for the future. I did receive their revised quote back that provided the not to exceed amount on it, and I forwarded that over to Madam President and Trish today for signature.
Do you remember what the not to exceed amount was?
1,500.
Okay.
And that was voted on at the last meeting. It's just his original proposal did not have the not to exceed. It just had its hourly rate on it. So we asked him to put that on it.
And I'm sorry to ask you this, just because I kind of forget. What are we going to get from this?
So he added the deliverables on the new proposal. So he's going to review the trees that were pruned. If he feels that any of them need special attention, he's going to point those ones out to keep an eye on them. He's going to make recommendations for the future for any type of pruning services or any type of maintenance with the trees of how to help them come back. Can't undo the damage that was done to them, but through future practices, you can kind of lessen the impact of what the current damage is.
Have you heard anything more from Beaver Jack?
Absolutely nothing.
So at least we saved a bunch of money.
We haven't paid them a penny. And I have multiple emails into 2 separate emails accounts with them and CC'd the owner as well. And as of the last one, it basically said until we received the documentation the contract required, we were making no payment. And it's been like that for months now.
Okay, great.
The 2021 Greenways Trails, the CFA hasn't met yet, so I would anticipate that those grant announcements probably this fall sometime. The same with the Act 152 demos. The county has not met on those to make any award announcements. The only other thing I had for discussion, the CD48 for 2022, the pre-application cycle is now open. I had sent out an email with some potential projects. Any of the sewer or water projects would be a 65-35 grant match. Any park improvements or recreational improvements are an 85-15% match. So with that, some of the projects that I had thought about that had come up recently, the storm sewer at the end of School Street that goes underneath the stairs, it's damaged, so we could look at a storm sewer repair there to be able to reopen the stairs. We had tried applying for the Center Avenue storm sewer extension. It was turned down the last time. We could always try for it again. One item that the CDBG program always likes is ADA ramps. I know there was some talk of going around, especially on the top of the hill, and assessing some of the curb ramps up there. So that's always a thought. And then recently, with some of the help that Trish had got, there was some intersection and crosswalk upgrades that were proposed. So that's always a thought for the CDBG project. And then we had applied for the Greenways Trails grant. So another thought was maybe pulling out some of the smaller items from that grant. Because typically the CDBG grants don't go as high as dollar amounts as what the Greenways Trails do. So we could pull out some smaller items, maybe some walkways, some benches, some minor upgrades, and possibly look at a riverbank project as well.
Great. One other quick question. Could you say again the delineation between when it's a 35% match and when it's a 15% match?
The 35% match is on sewer and water projects,
It seems high.
and the 15% match is for recreational projects such as parks.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
So the reason that the sewer and water is the 35% match is due to the fact that over the years, the grant would pay for the engineering in the grant, and it was getting harder and harder to track, so the county just came out with a flat 35%.
This seems like a lot to me. Is that?
It is one of the higher percentages of the grants out there.
All right, thanks. All right, thank you.
I don't really need a vote or anything on it. Like I said, the pre-applications are due. They are due to the COG by the September 3rd. The pre-applications are very simple, just cost estimates in a generic project location. So it wouldn't be very hard for the projects I listed. I could put together a cost estimate and email it to everyone for any one of the projects. Or being that it's the pre-application project, we're not limited to a number of projects. So I could put in 4 or 5 different projects, and then the county would say what they feel is a qualifying project or not.
Well, we would be meeting again before the 3rd if you need us to be voting on something particular.
So what I can do is I can move forward, putting a cost estimate for the projects I've talked about, just laying out what the grant versus the match amount would be. And then at the workshop meeting, if you wanted to move forward with applying for all of them, we could. If not, you could just get back to me. And
Yeah,
let me know which ones that you'd like to move forward with.
it's kind of difficult to decide ahead of the budget. You know what I mean? Because we're sort of limited on a budget. We don't know how much money we can spend on matches. But I guess we can, I don't know.
Yeah, this would be the way that the CDBG years fall. It is classified as a 2022 grant, but as you see, we're just bidding out the 2021 in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah,
So usually the way they fall is the work doesn't occur until the following year.
yeah,
That's not a rule, that's just off of past practices. So more than likely, anything that is approved on the CDBG 2022 would actually go to construction in spring 2023.
I have one other question that just occurred to me. Usually at some point in the year, and we may even be past it, but I remember in the past that the Senate engineer would say to us, what roads do you want to be paved with your liquid fuels money? And you need to decide that back in, I don't know, June or something, and then we would get a road, whatever we decided upon, paved in September or October.
So this year it's First Street. So the match amount for First Street is actually being paid with liquid fuels.
Okay.
And then we had possibly talked about doing the second half of Second Street once First Street was complete, but we kind of pulled back on
We
that
did,
with
yes.
all the budget
Yeah.
concerns. So yeah, and I've been working with Dave to kind of look at a 5-year paving
Yeah.
program.
Okay.
So this year we're doing First Street for sure.
Okay.
And then hopefully by the beginning of next year, we'll have a much better outlook on kind of our plan moving forward.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for the clarification.
Matt, we recently had a structural fire at a house on West Railroad. Were you able to find out, are there any grants we can apply for emergency demolition of that partial structure?
I believe there is a emergency demo program within the Act 152 for situations like that. I'll double check with Mr. Benecki tomorrow, and if so, I can give you the information so we can apply for it.
That'd be super, thank you.
I'm assuming it is a total loss, you know?
Structural fires usually are deferring to the chief.
I would say it is.
Okay,
Total loss.
okay, thanks.
Was it vacant or,
No,
because typically
I understand the owner might have passed. There was a squatter in there.
okay, because a lot of times, like the homeowners will cover the demolition of it.
Well, what I understand, there was the owner owned two properties right down there near each other. What I understand, they might have divorced or whatever and separated properties. The one that got this property had passed.
Okay,
And then there was a lady living, a squat there.
yeah, I'll look into what's available to be applied for and I'll definitely back it.
thank you. Okay, now for council committee reports, Mr. Warren, you're up first.
Thank you. I've got two things on here. The capital campaign recommendations. I met with Matt last week. We did a review of the borough maps, did a walkthrough portion of the properties here. I was planning to meet with AJ. He had additional recommendations for capital campaign for both steel doors and roofing. So I'm going to get a final recommendation from AJ, provide that to the finance committee. Also did an audit of the recycling and donation bins in the municipal lot. I'd like to make a proposal to, I talked to Ray and Dave last Monday. I'd like to make a recommendation to our committee on some of the findings I had and vet it through and provide it to all council. I believe that we have more parking available within our municipal lot. If we were to take an audit of what we use, the placement of the bins and where the parking is and where it's needed. I had a couple of things that we discussed that he had recommendations on. I mean, it's pretty black and white for guidelines. I'd like to gain some more parking spots with probably just the cost of paint, similar to what Trish has put together over at the Arch Street parking situation. So I'll propose that to the committee. We'll meet again. I'll bring it back to all council in advance to discuss and deliberate, and then we can go through the official agenda. My main goal is that for anyone who is able to park in the municipal lot, whether it's within hours of the permit or after hours without a permit, so we can have more patrons at restaurants and more residents parking instead of walking the hill, to make it more vibrant downtown. Ray, did I miss anything to discuss?
I think that was about it. Talked about the 5-year capital plan and I think that was pretty much our meeting that day.
You also actually assisted Ray with the current conditions of the salt, or use of the salt. And you said we're in a good spot now, not to add anything at this point. The capital campaign, we have a good negotiation.
I contacted Mr. Scott, Fody from Oak Point, and I stopped up and visited him. And he said he was going to work with Susan on writing up some type of an agreement. Because we don't have a handwritten agreement with
Work with who?
Oak Point.
Their manager. Scott.
Yeah, we'll work with who?
He said he was going to call Susan.
Susan Hockenberry. Oh,
In the interim, we're hoping to get this soon.
Yeah, but-
These following salt. So if it's Christine's in place, then
Right.
yeah.
I think Christine, because
Christine doesn't start with us till the end of the month. He was gonna
I know, but
contact her.
Susan's it's not in our employ
Okay.
right now, so
Right.
yeah, we're not paying her, so.
Appreciate you doing the outreach. The idea is I didn't want to, I was looking to propose something for a 5-year plan, and it was an understanding that it's a far distance to go. I didn't know how much salt we bought, how much we had, how much we used. So I understand it to be more of a verbal. So Ray offered to reach out and see where it stood. So as a formality, we can get on paper. So Christine's the person who can do that.
Yeah.
And that will be helpful. What I understand is that where our salt bin was, that is no longer there, it can be grandfathered in, and we can actually put the structure back where it was and actually correct it. But if we were going to do anything on the lower part of the borough, we'd have to make sure it's a floodplain. We have to raise the grade pretty high, up over 4 feet in some places. So taking a look at our current circumstances, if we could just get paperwork in line, understand what our agreement is next door, it should work well. So no need to add any additional spending if we can just clean up the paperwork to understand what it is that we buy, what we use.
Great,
Thanks, Ray.
Yep.
So I have a report.
thank you.
May I ask a question about the recycling, or it may be a comment? With your idea for a revised, more efficient system that will allow for more parking, will there be room left in the event that we offer glass recycling in the future or perhaps composting?
I would hope so. I wasn't here for contract negotiations for a home pickup, but I don't see why we couldn't negotiate pickup of glass. Too many communities do it. In the meantime, you are correct. There should be, if you have a 3-car or 2-car garage, you can't park the car inside, you need to rearrange some things. You've got the space there. That's what I see with a lot. The use of the space on the building side where you have multiple dumpsters. I walked through, I don't know if they're being used. It might have been, they just unloaded it, but I do understand there are grants tied to it. I do understand that if we could just simply move them to other places, we can staff parking in some spots, we can also add parking. If there were to be a glass container in there, there should be space.
Great. Thanks for looking into that.
Thank you.
That's all I report.
Okay, do you have that treasurer's report?
Mhm.
Okay, so in Dave Matlin's stead, he's asked me to give the finance report. You guys have all the finance papers there that I copied for you. So please forgive me if I get this wrong. But I'm gonna do the best that I can to share with you what I know for the finances. So Dave doesn't necessarily do this, but I'm gonna do it. This is the first thing is the treasurer's report. And just so you know that at the end of June, we had, or the beginning of July 1st, $839,312.63 in the general fund. We received $456,833.98. We spent $316,551.80. And so our fund balance in the general fund as of the end of July is $979,594,000.81. So the other funds that you see there are the seizure fund, which remains static at this point until we were to receive any funds from a drug bust or something like that from the police. And that takes apparently a long time to process through. And then there at the bottom, there is the sewage fund, which has been talked about quite a bit over the last many months. And I'm gonna talk about more about that in a minute. I just want to point out that the liquid fuels and the fire truck funds are with Pliget. It's a separate account. I don't totally understand it. The liquid fuels account changes with money that we get and money that we spend. And we are currently, if you recall from April, we decided that we could spend money for lighting and for salt out of this liquid fuels money. In addition to like the First Street reconstruction, it has, there are certain regulations that you have to follow in order to spend that money. But in order to take the weight off of the general fund, we're spending more out of the liquid fuels because it has $168,000 in it. The fire truck fund there never moves. I'm not quite sure what that is, or I guess it earned 4 cents of interest. Very interesting. So what I wanted to let everybody know, just in the interest of transparency, is how we're managing between the general fund and the sewer fund and between the general fund and the liquid fuels fund. So what happens is bookminders, and our bookminder, our personal bookminder is Rachel. She tells me at the end of each month how much money should go from, and if you could pull up the one that says due to and from the sewer fund.
Mhm.
So she gives me the information. I think it's toward the end.
Mhm.
It's this one. Yeah. No, it's the other one. That's the Pliget one. Sorry.
Okay.
My assistant here.
This one.
That one. Yeah. So you'll see there that Rachel is incredible at following exactly what comes in from Oakmont Water that we collect. And then we send that money to the, we get that money, it goes into the general fund as it comes in. Checks come in, we deposit the checks. But she follows how much of this money that we get should actually go to the sewer fund. She sends me this report at the end of each month, and I transfer that amount of money from the general fund to the sewer fund. So I just transferred $78,071.56 from the general fund to the sewer fund. So that increased the sewer fund to 199,963 and change when I did that. And that's not showing on these papers because I just did it. And the reason that it's important to know that is because we have a bill sitting in the office that needs to be paid for our Alcoasand bill of $151,271.70. So we are actually going to pay that bill once again from the general fund. And then we will take the money from the sewer fund and put it back into the general fund for that $151,000. And so the sewer fund will end up with about little under $49,000 when that whole thing will go back and forth. The ideal way to do this, as Lisa has pointed out to me many times, is to have the sewer fund have its own checking account. And probably once Christine gets here, she can figure all that out, how to do that. But and so so I just wanted people to know that's how we were doing. And then if you show, can you show this one?
Mhm.
The one that had, that says liquid fuels due to and from. Dave takes care of the Pliget funds. And we do a similar kind of thing, but it's not quite as confusing. Well, it's kind of is. We pay all the Duquesne Light and all the Liberty Power bills from the general fund. But because we can use the liquid fuels money to pay those bills at the end of the month, the liquid fuels account in Pliget has to send to the general fund the amount of money that we paid for all our electric. So that he just did this last night, $9,866.03 went from the liquid fuels fund to the general fund. So the amount in the general fund is not, you know, exactly what it is right now either. Because right now what's left there is 158,000 and change. So I just was letting people know, whoever's watching at home and whoever is interested in this kind of thing, that is how we've been managing the different funds since March or so. So there's that. The next thing that we can look at real quick is the balance sheet. And basically that this is a one-page thing, the balance sheet. And it shows our assets, liabilities, and equity for all of the major fund types. You'll see at the top there, general fund, fire truck, all that kind of thing. And it's just a summary of the treasurer's report, basically, of what I just shared with you with a little more detail. And then the next one is the budget versus actual. And mainly what Dave wanted me to point out to everybody is some of the large receipts that we received over the last month. We got $126,000 and change from the American Rescue Plan grant revenue. I believe, Craig, there are restrictions as to how we can spend that money, correct? It's only certain things we can spend it on.
That's what we spent on, yes.
Yeah. So I'm not sure we may end up making a separate account for the ARPA funds so that we can keep track of that rather than having to do this back and forth thing that we've been doing. The other thing is, we received $76,600 some odd dollars for the grant for Cribbs Field. But if you look down under bills and disbursements, we paid out $90,000 to Pampina Landscaping, and that, so that include our match. So we paid out the $76,000 that we received plus the excess for the match. And we also got the $75,000 for the public safety grant, thanks to Mrs. Provenza and her helper, Mrs. Wharf. And there you can see also the Oakmont Municipal Authority gave us the $78,000. And that's what fuels the sewer fund. We did receive the $18,000 from Penn Hills for 2020 for the intermunicipal sewer agreement. And then under the bills and disbursements, we spent for this month a total of $141,635.73, paid Pampina. And the other thing under the large disbursements I want to make note of is we got something from Mock and Hop to pay them $11,872. But it occurred to me after talking to the Auditor General way back when, that some of that money was actually ours to keep. And when I talked to the guy at the Auditor General, when we got that bill, even though Rachel had already written this check, he agreed with me that we got to keep about a little over $4,000 of that and not have to send it back to the pension fund. So we saved ourselves $4,000. So at this point, I would like to have a motion to accept the monthly financial statements for the month of July. Pardon me? Oh, motion by Mrs. Provenza, second.
I'll second.
Second by Trish Rejek Showalter. Any other questions about the financial statements, the balance sheet, treasury report, or budget versus actual?
Yes.
Yes.
First, great job working your way through all of those details. I just want to clarify for my own understanding that we do have a separate account, obviously, for liquid fuels. We do not have a separate account for sewer. So you're proposing that Christine?
Oh, yeah, no, we have the fund.
Yes.
But we don't have a checking account.
Understood.
Yeah, and it would be more ideal to have the separate checking account. So we'll work on that with Christine. Yeah.
And you said we will also be doing that for the ARPA funds.
Well, it's been suggested to me. I've never done this. Nobody's ever done this before, but I think that it would be more ideal to have that separated out so that we know when we're spending it on the things that we're allowed to spend it on, that it's coming out of that checking account. Right. But right now we only have one checking account. So everything goes back and forth through the general, which is a long story, how we got here to begin with. And okay, so we have a motion on the floor, first by Mrs. Provenza, second by Tricia Showalter. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. And then we also, as you can see, the other thing, which you don't necessarily have to put up if you don't want to, Trish, is the bills. You guys, I mean, this was sent out to you, I think, Sunday night. Don't know if you guys have any questions on any of the bills. I know there has been in the past, but there's no question on the bills.
How much was the Alcoston bill again?
We haven't paid it yet, so it's not on here, but it was, hold on. $151,271.70.
And that's monthly.
No, I think that's more quarterly. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions about bills? Okay, then I'll take a motion to approve the bills that's dated August 10th or 11th or whatever the date is. Janet, make the motion, okay?
Second.
Second by Sylvia. I'm sorry, did you?
All in favor for treasurer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Okay, first by Ms. Loalbo, second by Mrs. Provenza. Any other questions or concerned about the bills? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, motion passed. Okay, I think, phew. Thank you for your patience and everything else. That's it for me on that. Who's next? Oh, gee, too many hats. Oh, Trish Register Walter.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple items under my agenda for tonight, but I'll try to move through them pretty quickly. The first agenda item is I just wanted to let everyone know, as the mayor alluded to earlier, that we do have a new code enforcer representative from BIU. His name is Mike McDermott. So I just wanted to send a quick welcome. And as we also discussed, we will make sure that we schedule a meeting to address some ongoing concerns that have been brought up tonight and otherwise regarding the code enforcement in Verona. He will be in the area tomorrow. So if you are in the office, feel free to say hello. Second item under my agenda for tonight is the comprehensive fee schedule updating that Craig alluded to. It's still a work in progress. Craig and I were able to meet, and we're still targeting a revised resolution for our schedule soon. But after our last meeting, we still had a couple of fees that we wanted to compare with additional neighboring communities to make sure that we have something that's reasonable and on par for our fee schedule. But we will again be targeting that to have that updated resolution soon. Next item under my agenda is related to the issues we've been having with feral cats in our area, microchipping event and donations for 412 Animal Rescue. So our local animal rescue organization is offering low-cost cat microchipping to our community. They've asked us to help spread the word. And they will be accepting donations of approximately $15 per microchip per animal, or whatever you are able to pay. This will obviously help to increase the chances of lost cats in our community being reunited with their owner. And any vet, or actually even our police, can scan animals to see if they have a microchip. So if anyone is interested, please reach out to Kelly or 412 Animal Rescue. Additionally, to assist with Kelly's efforts and the efforts of 412, specifically the TNR work that they've been doing, I would like to set up a box out here in our foyer to collect donations of cat food, cat toys, and litter to help assist with these efforts for the organization. If council will be approving that, I will place a collection box in our foyer sometime this weekend with some information about our local animal rescue organization. Does anyone have any questions about that idea?
Any objections, anybody for doing that? It's like it's a go.
Okay, great. I figure it's something small we can do to help. So I should make a motion?
I don't know that we need to, Craig, because we're not really spending any money or anything.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you very much.
I did want to say one thing, sort of an offshoot of all the business with the cats. And that is that BIU, Mr. Keeley, has been following all of his steps that he can do with Mr. Fall. He's gone through the door hanger thing, the notice of violation, and it's elevated to the magistrate, and they have to schedule it. But before that could happen, we had to send a letter to the magistrate, which then had to go to the county, and I don't know how long that is, you know, to approve that.
Everything's an awful long time.
Really?
But it's getting better. I mean, hopefully they don't start doing more shutdowns or pauses with this new variant. You know, things are starting to move along
Yeah.
better. I'll say that.
So I guess there's some legal way that this needs to be approved for BIU's people to go there and,
Who's done that?
no, but I mean, I thought it had to be sent to the county.
It has been.
Right, but then don't they have to look at it and approve it or do
They
something?
just enter the names onto the system.
Oh, okay, so then maybe the magistrate would be able to go ahead and schedule that.
Right, I think everything's done.
Oh, all right,
I got confirmation back from Judge DeLuca's office that it's already been sent to the county. That, in my mind, that means that it's finalized. They're on the system.
okay, so should we be hearing from the magistrates at the scheduled time for this court hearing for Mr. Paul?
How do you spell his name?
FALL?
What's his first name?
Go
Go ahead,
Yeah,
carry on. I'll look it up.
okay, thank you.
Great, thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying.
I just wanted people to know that the steps are being taken.
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
Go ahead.
The fourth item under my agenda for tonight is approval of a parking plan for Riverbank Park, as well as a portion of the business district based on some recommendations that I presented and we discussed at the July workshop meeting. So, Madam President graciously printed all of council a hard copy. I'll also put it up on the screen because I did make a couple minor tweaks to the Riverbank Park recommendations. So regarding the business district, now again, this is not all encompassing, but these are just some specific items that were brought up recently and related to parking and likely ordinances, as well as Parks and Rec for Riverbank Park. So we verified that the ADA parking spot that the mayor and others recalled being at the intersection of East Railroad and Center is no longer there. So I'd like to propose we re-add that ADA accessible spot right here near the corner, as well as going ahead and trying to add 1 30-minute parking spot further up around, like across from the Borough Building. It's approximately 733 East Railroad with specific business hours. So this would exclude evenings, so Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. Again, just as a trial basis to see if it can alleviate some of those problems that businesses were reporting from that area. Obviously, we had a lot of concerns last meeting that it could be confusing or may lead to a lot of requests. But after reflecting on Patrick Wright's recommendations from LTAP, I think it is a good idea to just try it again on a trial and just to start small with one sign and just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we can always just pull that sign out and go in a different direction. Finally, I would like to put forward that we add hours to those no parking signs in the municipal lots, just to add the clarification of what I think is already being practiced, that during evenings and weekends, our many businesses can utilize these parking lots to come to town and to enjoy our town. So I would just have that spell out again, the business hours of the borough, and in general, just continue towards removing all non-compliant colored signs, specifically the red and yellow. So I know that's a lot, so I'm just going to pause with the business district recommendations for any questions or comments on that.
So I asked about the resolution, is there a parking permit fee, and if so, how much is it? And where can it
So like you mean parking permits?
be? Correct.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. You may remember.
Because there's a post, here's the thing, there's a posted sign, there's a lot of signs, there are a lot of signs. These signs, I don't know how they were ever put up. I don't know if, I think I emailed the holders on this, so I'll keep it for you. You have within the business district also residential use, where you might have so many spaces provided within certain distance of the business that allow for employees and patrons to park. I believe that there should, I mean, don't people hold parking?
Yes.
And how much is the parking?
I believe it's $15 a month for this lot and the lot up there.
So it counts for either one, no matter what.
Right.
Those are for what hours?
For the business side, they're for business people to park in the lot.
So what are those hours?
I don't know when it begins, but I think that it ends at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You think you know, then the signs are different. So
What did
question
the
was-
sign say?
What's that?
What did the sign say? I don't know.
That I did a walkthrough last week, and there were, I think, two versions of it. They're conflicting. There's actually stacked signs where it's kind of like they cancel each other out. So my question is, with the permit, I wanted to know how much the fee was. $15 a month. You get it for the whole year.
You
And
could,
you could be either a business owner or you could be a second story, third story
Right.
resident, whoever it is. So you apply for that, you hold a permit. So you're able to park within the business hours.
but I
If
think,
it's a residential, they can park all day.
So it's,
well, hold on. First, I just want to let you know that shoot, what was I gonna say? If you pay for the entire year, several years ago, they made an agreement that if you pay for the whole year, you get a bit of a discount. But I don't remember what the discount is right now off the top of my head.
yeah, so my suggestion is between that up first
Yeah.
before we start posting signs. Then there
Yes.
needs to be an audit.
Yeah.
Trish, I think this actually overlaps with some of the stuff I was going to provide after the committee anyways.
Great.
It's same issue, two approaches, I think, the same solution. So if you don't mind, I think we should clean up as a part of the fee resolution, what that fee is, the on paper, if there's a discount for 12 months, or 4 months, do that. I don't think that should stop though from the ADA accessible paying on the corner piece. So to answer your question, your question's on page 1. If there was handicap accessible parking there already, then it's, well, I think it's fixed. It needs to be,
Mhm.
you know. I think pulling the signs that are under 8 feet that are the gold lettering and trim with the red in the background, those need to be pulled. And just overall, if we can clean up the fee process within these 4 walls and then assess the post signs, I would prefer that versus putting signs up and working backwards.
Mhm.
That's the only feedback I have.
Yeah, I'd like to add that when we're pulling the red and yellow signs, then we need to figure out if we need a sign, where that red and yellow sign is and what we want that sign to say. And then we need to take into account how much is all this signage change and everything going to cost?
Mhm.
Because we'll need that soon, because like Joey said earlier, budget time is coming up.
Mhm, mhm.
You know what? I think you could ask AJ, because I know there was a handicap parking spot there when IGB opened,
There was.
and then it was painted gray, and I don't know what
I don't know
happened.
why. I honestly don't know why, but there was one there.
Yeah,
Because we had them on all the corners throughout the town, handicap parking.
yeah,
And for some reason, that one's gone and I don't know why.
yeah. And so we might want to do a better study on where our handicap parking is, our signage, and ask AJ, because I'm sure that it was him and his guys that painted that. Can't imagine anybody else painted that
Well, they
gray.
took the sign down too, so it had to be the street parking.
Okay, so that I'm not sure about.
And I think it's as simple as just putting, whether it's here or the next lot or the next lot on this side, just simply put permit parking and then the hours.
Mhm.
And then if someone has a question about where to get permits, they come here, they can apply for one, or they hold one and they could use the hours if they purchase to park there. Otherwise, if it's after hours, then you can park and patrons and walk around. And do that.
Right, but there's other areas that you were alluding to, Mayor, about residential permit parking. And recently, we did an ordinance for 2nd Street and Center. Is that different than the parking lot parking permits?
Well,
Because one's blue and
These are
one's,
municipal lots and that's street parking.
right. You talk, the residential is different than the,
right.
Yeah.
So their cost is different, or they don't have to pay, or if they're a resident, they don't have to pay, but other people do have to pay, like if they want to park on
we
Second
don't
and
have
walk
many
down.
residents that park on Second and Center Avenue in the no parking, permit parking. The permit parking up there was for bus riders. And
Right.
the same way with Center Avenue for riding the bus.
Okay,
Can we sell those so you can buy a permit?
Yeah, but
to park
since
in
the,
residential?
since the COVID, I talked to Ned on that, and it has gone down considerably. There's hardly anybody that parks on Second anymore. Either I don't know they're probably working from home.
okay.
She doesn't get very, because I had asked her one time about Second Street, because we used to get maybe 5 or 6 people. And
Yeah.
it's down to 0.
Yeah, okay, well, that may change in the winter, I don't know,
Right.
just because it's cold and it's closer. But I have to say, for the few months that I've been in the office, I guess we don't sell them, the police.
Right, and then
Department
they go to
sells them.
Annette.
Oh, okay, that's why. we
And
never
then,
sold
and
them.
if the board is considering opening this lot next to us right here to
Mhm.
permit parking, you gotta remember that we need parking for people coming here,
Mhm.
you know, so
Yes.
that's the reason why we
Yeah.
have, you know,
Yeah.
no permit parking in this lot here.
Right.
Sometimes there's no cars in there, it holds 12 cars,
Oh,
but
is that what that
sometimes there's
says?
nobody in there, other times there's 5, 6, 7 cars.
So this yellow and red sign says something to that effect, right?
Right. Mhm.
Okay. I just want to make one other observation, and again, I've gotten conflicting feedback from people in the community about the 30-minute sign. I don't know the answer. I'm just putting it out there that if one business wants to have a 30-minute parking sign, then we're going to have them over the entire community for every single business. And so I don't know what to say about doing that. I know Patrick mentioned something about it, but I'm not sure here in Verona that we have that bad of a parking situation in general in Verona, that people need to have 30-minute parking spots in front of all their businesses.
I think you're gonna open up a can of worms.
Exactly.
Then it becomes exclusive to a singular business. and
Yeah.
then someone feels singled out, and then
Yeah.
you have to extend it.
Yeah.
I was hoping with the approach I bring to our committee for public works and to assess for where the dumpsters are, the recycling, and to gain parking spots. So versus assigning for a time period, because you have to post for 30 days before you post, is that correct? Sign goes up, it has to be there, posted, 30, then it's effective. Then you could monitor it, then you could, so then there's a long time before you pull it out of the ground, before you know if it's effective or not. And I agree, I think it was discussed last month, you put a 30-minute parking sign in front of one business, I mean, or even spread out businesses, it's gonna be so exclusive that you're gonna find that it's gonna be restricted. So I would see that to benefit the business owners and operators, to make it easier for patrons, if we can gain more spots than we have in the owners, that would be a better approach. If we're gonna vote on it, that would be my vote. I don't know that, I know it's a quick fix. I know there's already a sandwich board in place that's there for the business I mentioned. So I think gaining extra spots would be just beneficial to everybody, and it would be one less sign. But I think
Yeah.
a fair compromise. Otherwise, I don't, you plan on monitoring it after the 31st day and then do the 60th or 90th day and then find, report back on what it was. And, I mean, we have cameras here if you want to view on the security cameras, but that's a lot of work to see. if one
Who's gonna
stop
go by
works.
there every 30 minutes? Too?
What's that?
And who's gonna go by there every 30 minutes?
I think we do have pretty close monitoring of that area, though.
I understand. I just think it's, you're opening a can of worms if you start giving one business one thing.
It's a very definitive answer to an issue, but I don't think that there's one solution. I think if you're gonna add more spots, I don't think it'd be hurting anyone's feelings. I think it'd be open for everybody. I think also plucking a couple signs. I mean, if there's 12 empty spots here, but you're driving up, you don't know if you can park for alterations or to grab dinner, like keep on going. This might be 12 solutions right here. There might be 3 more over here. So I think an audit of the footprint is going to be more beneficial than posting the sign for a trial where it's not effective for 30 days. You have to quantitate how effective was it. You're going to have to report back. We're going to have to discuss this in 4 months. Personally.
I hear what you're saying, and I think there are still some concerns among the group. I would still like to do it, but if that's not the consensus, I can table this until we do further just evaluation of all the parking.
Would you mind giving me one more meeting with our committee for public works and share back what we discussed and maybe look at that as maybe possible solution before we can sign up?
Did you want to give you one more meeting before we do the ADA and starting to remove yellow and red?
Say that again?
Did you want to have your meeting before we began the first 2 here, adding the ADA and starting to remove the red and yellow signs?
I think removal of the signs and also the ADA doesn't need discussion. I think if it needs to be corrected to how it was and the signs are not properly being removed, I don't see that. Held on.
Yeah, we certainly need to remove them, but I'd like to have an idea of how much one of these signs costs and how many signs we're removing and replacing? Just to know, you know.
I think it's nominal. If you have 3 lots and 3 signs, I mean, they can't be more than 140 units each. We might have the garage, like a Lowe's over here. We have a lot of things in stock that we might be able to.
Yeah,
Red and white, so I don't know if that.
yeah, right, white background with red lettering is what's allowed. Yeah. Red, okay. It's not gonna,
Things that might be in stock, so it might be.
yeah, okay, so it's not, wouldn't change my vote. I'd just like to know if we can find that out. How much these signs are costing. They're not free unless they're already in stock. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I hope this makes sense to everyone. So we are tabling the adding of any 30-minute parking spots as well as adding hours to the municipal lot parking signs until further discussion and further DPW meetings. So the motion I would like to make tonight, assuming we still need a motion, is to re-add that ADA accessible parking spot at the corner of East Railroad and Center and remove the non-compliant red and yellow signs and replace them with what is probably in stock.
Yeah, as long as we can replace them. I don't want to take them out and then have no signs. I'm good with that. Okay, so you're making that motion?
I think Joey has a question.
I'm just making a face. Why can't we pull them out of the ground?
Because they say something that people need to know.
But they're not 8 feet high off the ground. They're not within the.
I know, but at least the information is there until we get a new sign to replace it. I'm just saying, wait till we're sure that we have the sign to replace it. Don't just pluck them out and then leave the parking lot or whatever it is signless. Then nobody knows anything about anything. Yeah,
There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
okay. Okay, motion by Trish Rezak Showalter, second by Mr. Suchovich. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, there you go.
Great, thank you. The second and final area for park changes, recommendations, improvements, also discussed at the July workshop meeting, is this area adjacent to Riverbank Park. So I am proposing that we proceed with adding marked spaces along Arch Street with white paint. We'll do, and this is a change from my original email, but we'll do first Grant, which is here, to Fairview. So that will be the area directly adjacent to the park. If successful, we can always consider expanding to further down Arch where there are other businesses such as 10.7 Marina and yacht clubs to help alleviate some of those issues. But initially, I'm just proposing we do this area here, which is pictured. This will include, unlike streets like North Avenue and Edge, along the grass area to discourage visitors from parking on the grass and instead park their car within the rectangle that will be fully on the cement pavement. This first spot, also discussed at the workshop meeting, will be designated as ADA accessible. So this is this first spot in blue. As a trial, the next 2 spots will be indicated as suggested playground parking. I don't know if it's possible to find something that isn't so like this sign that's, you know, others will be towed and enforced, because I don't think we intend to tow or enforce anyone who parks in those spots and aren't using the playground, but as a simple reminder that if it is busy with pickleball players, that we may, instead of parking in those spots close to the playground, continue further on down the street. I also added that one of Patrick's suggestion, although this is further down, is to go ahead and reach out to the Moose to see if their rather large parking lot just further down from Riverbank Park could be utilized by park visitors whenever the Moose is not open. Obviously, that would incur some updates to their signage, but given the nature of the condensed parking situation in this area, I'm hoping that's something they may be amenable to. Again, these parking spaces are approximate. I'm hoping that with Matt's help and potentially the DPW committee's help, that we would be able to carry this through. Are there questions or comments?
a comment, as far as going down further towards 10.7 in the Moose, I don't think the pickleballers, people that are gonna park up this playground,
Mhm.
the times I rode by there and walked by there, whatever, haven't seen that many cars would have to worry about down that end. You know, maybe on the end of, whatever that street is going up there, that Fairview.
This is Fairview.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
Fairview. I was gonna
Maybe you get a
ask that.
spot or two on the end of Fairview, but as far as going past Fairview, you know, I don't know. I don't see that many cars parked there, you know, most of the time, where it would be an issue.
Okay, so you're saying that pickleball players don't seem to be utilizing further down Arch Street?
I don't seem to think so.
Okay.
Because you put them three spots near the borough garage
That's right.
too, also, you know, just my thought, my observation. And also you talked about it one time about putting the delineators in there instead of a white line.
I did. Yeah, I did not include this in this first phase, but that's definitely something I think would be beneficial.
Just my observation.
Yeah, we have the ADA spot down there because it's close to that entrance. That's a cement or asphalt. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
change that. So you would work with Joey and DPW on
Mhm.
getting those painted in.
Absolutely.
So is what we're going to agree to then is the 3, 6, 7, 8 spots on Arch? Are we going to put them on Fairview and then stop there and not do the ones further down Arch? Or, I mean, we got the guys out there painting. Seems a shame not to.
Well, this one you have here, Trish, right on the corner of Fairview. I know the audience can't see that.
Mhm.
That's a garage area, so that can't even be a parking spot,
You're right. Yeah.
that very first one.
Yeah, I think they're kind of approximate, right?
Yeah, let me go ahead and take those out.
And then
And
you got a fire hydrant right on that corner you gotta watch.
you're right. I'm not sure if two are practical here, although they're in the
I would say
diagram.
start with the 3, 6, 8, 9, including the handicap.
Oh, just along Arch,
Yeah,
not even on Fairview.
to get started. See how that works.
Yeah, the 9 spots on Arch. I don't recall anybody who lives on Fairview having any complaints about pickleballers, but I'm not privy to every complaint, so I don't know. We could just try those 9 spots, like Grace said, and then
See how it goes.
yeah, see how it goes. It's not, I don't think it's that hard for them to paint the lines, which, let me just throw in here, sorry to usurp your report, but the DPW guys have started putting the crosswalks and the lines, the stop signs in,
Mhm.
and it looks really nice.
It
And
does
they're
look
doing
nice.
a really good job of that. Just wanted to give a plug to them, a shout out. So, sorry, go ahead.
Are there other comments or questions about the proposed parking plan? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we go forward with this plan as described.
With the 9 spots.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are approximate, but yes.
Okay, great. Second, do I hear a second?
Second,
Second, first by Trish Rezac Showalter, second by Mr. Suchovich. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion passed. Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. My final item for tonight is just a brief update on Light Up Night, particularly the time capsule in honor of our 150th and donations, as well as this year we will have a holly trolley. So first, regarding the time capsule, the planning has been well underway for some time for Light Up Night, which again is Saturday, November 20th, for anyone who hasn't penciled that in. So again, in honor of our 150th, the Verona Community Group, along with Donald Worth and the Historical Society, had been working on the time capsule project. I know Mayor Dave is helping to get it in a better shape, but cutting off the bolts from the structure that we are using for the time capsule. We are planning to dedicate it at the beginning of Light Up Night, or rather Light Up Day this year. So I just wanted to let everyone know that you can drop off donations for the time capsule here at the Borough Building. You may wish to reflect on your time during the pandemic and include things like favorite bread recipes or your favorite mask or any other things like that that really mark this unique time in our history. So Donald, was there anything else we should add?
No, if anyone else has any ideas. Pass them on. Community project.
Maybe we can put that in the newsletter, Don. Put that out over there. Anyway.
Great. So regarding the trolley, a couple of Verona businesses have partnered with Oakmont Chamber to bring new this year 3 trolleys. Actually, the trolleys will provide a fun festival and accessible means of traveling throughout the 2 boroughs for the duration of the evening, beginning at 3 o'clock, which will be during Verona's pre-parade activities, and run until 11 p.m., which is 1 hour after the conclusion of Light Up Night. I'll be coordinating with Mayor Dave, and I'm sure Sylvia and the rest of Chambers. Anyone interested in joining the Light Up Night Planning Commission is welcome to contact me, as well as the Verona Community Group, which has been spearheading a lot of things. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next up is Mr. Suchovich.
The only thing I have, I talked to, after Dave and Joey and I met, I did talk to the police chief. I was going to talk to Dave. We're trying to get our budget together, maybe get your things together, what you might want. We can throw into the budget. Told the police chief the same thing. So that's that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mrs. Lou, how about?
Thank you. The Parks and Recreation Board met Tuesday, August 3rd, up at Cribs at the Pavilion. We met at 5:30. We were able to take a walkthrough. Matt Pitch, our engineer, he met us there, and we got to see the kitchen area, the bathrooms. It is great, beautiful. It's going to be so nice. So nice. The pavilion area is large. The Peanut actually, construction actually donated the picnic tables that are up there because our picnic tables are still on back orders. They should be arriving, I guess, soon, hopefully. But he purchased those for the meantime and is donating them to the borough. As mentioned early on from Tim Long, we are Parks and Rec in the Lower Valley Football League. We are having a wrestling event, Borough Battle of the Borough 3, which will be on August 21st. And during that day too, we're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony for the pavilion. That'll be at 2 o'clock. And then at 3:30, it's scheduled for the Kinsey plaque rededication of the plaque for the Kinsey family. And that will be at 3:30. Then after that,
Guys.
Festivities will begin for the wrestling. There'll be raffle baskets and a lot of fun. So if you come, tickets are $10. This Friday, August 13th, is Movie in the Park. It's going to be Cars 3. It will be right before, the day before the park cruise, so it will be appropriate for that. We were talking about trying to how to get more word out about our farmers market. It seems like attendance has been down this year. Last year with COVID, attendance has been down. Maybe now with more fresh produce coming in, that will bring more people in. But we have food trucks every week just out, and we need more people to come. Just looking for trips, parks and updates. One thing, right in front of everybody too, I'll go to my second agenda, the cribs lighting agreement. Back in October 2017, we had the original agreement that was written up. It was never really executed between RAA and the borough, the critical lighting agreement. So in front of everybody, I do have the agreement that does need to be signed at this time. Do you have any questions? I would like to make a motion to have this agreement.
Yeah,
completed.
I have a few questions. I wasn't privy to the conversations. I think that Dave talked to Richard about, do you know, Janet, was this Dave and Rich that were
Yes.
doing this? So the payment under RAA's responsibilities, payment of annual fee, which shall be waived for 8 years to cover Verona's share of the cost paid by RAA. So are we gonna start, I mean, so October of 2017, we're like 4 years into that. And I think that we may have to put in there the date of when this 8 years ends, because it's not 8 years from now, it's 8 years from then. The other thing I was not sure about was fertilizing and weed control. I think there's been some questions that has involved DPW about that. That I don't want to get into all of the details about. And do we have water lines for both fields? I don't even know if they're in there. Have they been installed?
I don't believe has been done on this. Matt, do you know anything about that? I know that was talked about.
I know we have a new water line at the pavilion on the exterior of the building that would cover that field there. I don't know if there's one over the basketball courts or not.
So, and then I know that there's a lot of people who are concerned about herbicides and things like that. I just have some concerns about this. I'm not sure that till I know some of that information and we put the date of when the 8 years is ending, that I would feel comfortable signing this as it is.
I have questions about the use of the building. Is there food service inside of that, or is it, what is inside? Is there equipment that we lend for use, or is it just, like, what is the building inside?
Inside there's a sink, running water, there's a refrigerator, microwave, freezer, yeah, there'll be a hot dog roller, flat.
So the borough owns those,
And
and then who holds the food service license, and who sells the product, and who's the liability on? Is that on us, or who stocks it and uses it? Which is a big question I have.
I know RAA, when they have their events, they run concessions for their events.
So it's full use of the amenity thing. So they buy the hot dog, load the hot dog, sell the hot dog, clean everything out. So it's that. And then they stock Gatorades and waters in advance. They sell the Gatorades and water. Season's done, and they take it. So it's use of the space for the use of the space. And then also, I think some of the boundaries are new to me, just working and understanding some of the circumstances on who upkeeps what. Infield and bases is what I read for the page 2 of this agreement, but just understanding the dugouts, the batting cages area, the basketball courts, weeding in the cracks of the concrete pavement. So all those things, it's simply the infield and the bases for the RAA, is that correct? That's it, okay. I don't know how much we need to spell this out. If the second to last bullet just is full complete maintenance on those infield and bases, other than herbicide application, is that well enough for council to, is that well defined enough for everybody? Is my big question.
The RAA is taking care of our feet. That's
It's just
their.
other than the herbicide application, they're responsible for everything. That's why I read that whole.
like I said, there was an issue last year about RAA taking care of some weeding or something like that. But they didn't get rid of it. And they just left this huge pile of weeds and expected.
It was
Our
eventually
crew.
taken care of. They did take care
Did
of
they?
it. Yes. Yep.
Okay. RAA did.
Yes.
Okay, good. 'Cause that was upsetting. What, do you know what maintenance and replacement of phase one lights means?
The lights are up.
That was when this is all started whenever they put the new lights up.
Right, but what does it mean by phase one?
The existing lights. Like all the lighting that's up there. That was phase one. Because it lights up one of the fields.
It's not like it's a
So-
staggered installment of phase one and phase two. It's just simply.
Well, so the thought was phase two, if ever done in the future, would light the second field.
Oh, so only one field is lighted.
Correct.
Oh, I
I
see.
mean, you do get spillover light on the both fields, but
Yeah,
lighted in the sense of being able
Okay.
to play a night game is only on one field.
okay. Well, I guess my only two other questions are installation of water lines for us and to put a date in for that, you know, when that annual fee, when they'll start paying that. Would actually, I think, be 4 years from now, because it's been going on for 4 years, right? 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know how you want to handle this. If you want to talk to Rich or you want Dave to talk to Rich about, you know, just putting a date in there and then let's figure out what are we. Maybe the water lines are installed. I don't know. Are they?
It was never done water by the basketball. court.
Oh, and the other thing is the batting cage. That's, I guess this doesn't really have to do with RAA necessarily. With this agreement, there's an issue with cutting the grass in the batting cage. So, can we get those two things fixed and then come back on the 31st and approve it?
Sure, so you want the date?
Yeah, I'd like to know the end date, with the end year. I don't know if they included it for 2017. If 2017 was one of the years that they're considering when it was, the waiving of the annual fee, or if they started that in 2018. Yeah. So 18, 19, 20, 21, that would be 4 years if we don't even include 17.
Right, it just started.
So so 22, 23, 24, 25. So it would end. They're not, yeah. I mean, they would know from their records if they've been, you know, keeping track of not paying that. So, yeah. And then what are we gonna do about these water lines? Because if they haven't gone in, it's been 4
I'll talk
years.
to them.
Yeah. I mean, they still want us to do it, then we should do it if we're signing an agreement saying that we're gonna do that.
We have water hookups at the.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, I don't really know what this means. Installation of water lines accessible for both fields. If what we have is accessible, that's great. If it isn't,
Why don't we just go back to the RAA folks for that tomorrow,
Right.
get those answers and bring it back here on the 31st.
yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. Yeah, thank you. What's happening?
The address is wrong on here. So I sent you, get that changed. She's gonna make
Oh
changes.
my God, 736, yeah, you're right. 736, not 376.
Okay, good catch.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. Thanks, Janet. Is that it for your report?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, real quick, The ribbon cutting ceremony is going to be at 2:30 and the plaque at 2:45. Lower Valley Athletic and Football donated the hot dog rollers at the flat. And we also wanted to mention too that we have free Wi-Fi at the cribs.
Is that operational?
Yes.
And there's no password?
No.
Oh, wow. Cool.
The equipment was donated to the borough?
Yes, from
Nice.
Lower Valley. The donuts, the hot dog roller and the flat.
Great.
Well, thank you, Lower Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Anything else, Janet?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, Mrs. Provenza.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. Newsletter. Big reminder, this is our holiday issue. And we're saying, please, 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 we need your ads, we need your articles. And at the very latest, it's going to be Wednesday, September 1st. And if at all possible, if you can get these to us 1 week prior, that would be beyond super, because we've got to get this stuff out, and maybe we can even squeeze some items in from our 150th. So the sooner the better. Just please get your things into me and to Donald. Me with the ads, Donald with the articles. Chamber of Commerce. This Thursday, August 12th, there's going to be a multi-mixer. It's going to start at Off the Rails. It's going to proceed to the Hula Bar. And also at the Hula Bar, Acclamation will be bringing in their product.
What
And
time?
you know what? They didn't give me a time.
5 o'clock. I think it's
5 o'clock?
So it's starting it off the rails at 5 o'clock?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. They didn't give me a time on that. Okay, from Hula Bar, it will proceed and finish off at the inner groove. And also a big reminder, don't forget the car cruise. It's actually our silver anniversary car cruise. That'll be this Saturday, August 14th. And let's see what else we have here. And I'd like to say many thanks to our Mayor Dave for chairing this event. Great job, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Historical Society, the trip to the Clayton House has been canceled for now, but we are going to have a meeting here on Thursday, September 16th. It will be at 7 p.m. and it will be held here in the Borough Building. Our speaker is going to be Frank Santucci, and he will be speaking on the Verona that you never knew. If you have any questions, do feel free to call Rhoda, and she can be reached at 828-3607. Twin Borough Ministries. Our community dinner is going to be held on Wednesday, August the 25th, Methodist Church, and it will be from 4:30 to 6:30. And we, at the council here, we will be hosting this grab and go dinner. So let's see, ALOM. Nancy, I'll do that also.
Okay.
ALOM is holding a seminar. It's entitled Government Benefits Advisory Seminar. And that'll be on Friday, September 24th. It's going to take place at the Cranberry Highland Clubhouse. Registration is going to be at 7:30 a.m. and education starts at 8:15 a.m. The seminar is free of it to attend, and it will include breakfast, and it will be finished and completed by lunchtime. The seminar will cover administration of benefits, which is pension, retirement plans, and healthcare. And to register, you must call ALOM at the office, and that would be 412-261-2521. And do any of you have any questions or any comments?
But then if you guys intend to go to that seminar up in the field house, give yourself more time than you think you need to get to Cranberry, because it's another 10 or 15 minutes beyond what you consider Cranberry. It's as far into Cranberry as you can get. I've been to a seminar there, and it takes a little bit of time to get there.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Appreciate that. If not, then this concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Provenza.
You're welcome.
And
Madam
Mr.
President.
Matlin is not here tonight. I think he will be having a COG meeting on the 25th. He had a COG meeting on July 28th, but I don't know anything about it. So he'll tell us next time. He'll have 2 COG meetings to report on. Okay,
Before we get to comments from the public,
okay.
Mr. Paul has 2 hearings at Judge DeLuca's on October 14th, both at 10 o'clock in the morning. One is a citation for exterior property sanitation, junk and debris, and the other one is for nuisance animal. And that's the one that you were asking about. So they are scheduled for October 14 at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Is the court open to testimony from people from the public at that type of a thing?
It's a summary trial, so I mean, they will take testimony, yes.
Okay,
I don't know that he will allow, I don't know if the courtroom's open to the public to just sit there like it used to be. I can find that out.
okay, thank you. Thank you for that information. At this point, council will hear comments on public related items. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any hands or, yes, go ahead, Sherry.
I'm gonna make this.
Yeah, name and address, please.
Sherry Kais, 759 East Row. I want to address what Mr. Warren addressed before about overdose. I came from a culture that was very anti-drugs, but the drug culture in America has gone really bad because it's an epidemic. So the entire United States, drug usage overdose among young people are rising. Now, recently, as I'm starting getting back involved in the Verona community, my husband and I, 16 years ago, came in. Everybody told us we're crazy to invest this kind of money in Verona. Verona is a very nice little town, and it's great to see young families are moving in with young kids. One of the suggestions I have is we don't have enough activities for young children in this town to retain young families with young kids. And those are the families that are thriving, that's gonna make this community a great community. We appreciate our seniors, we appreciate our business community, but we don't have enough things to do for the young kids. I would make a recommendation, and I met some of the people that recover from being drug addicts. The best successful rate is faith-based rehabilitation. So if anything, if you want to correct the problem, and it's not just happening in this community, I'm telling you, Fox Chapel, Cranberry, North Treesdale, the rich neighborhood just hide it better. That's all it is. So this is by no means to be judgmental in the community, how many overdoses you have. But I think to make this community better, we need to have more things for young children, like under 18. There's nothing really thinking. I mean, I don't, maybe I'm not educated enough on it, but there's nothing here for young families. So.
Thanks, Sherry. There any other hands? Is that it?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, first by Mrs. Provenza, second by Mr. Suchovich. Any questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right.